I'm going to start by saying, just so you know everybody, there's a chance, and this is good news, that our Steam page may be launched at the end of the month. Maybe. All depends how fast Steam approve it and how quick I can get things uploaded and finalised, but it's looking like it's making good progress, and there's a chance that we can have a Steam page launch. But just so we don't focus, this is just a coming soon page. This isn't an actual game, nowhere close. Absolutely nowhere close to an actual game. It'll just be the coming soon page, which, you know, is a great idea to do. I recommend that any growing indie dev get their game up early, get that coming soon page up so you can build your wish list. Need plenty of time to do that. Yeah, COVID has been a hard road for my best friend. Her uncle passed away from it a few days ago, then 2 months ago her brother, uncle and aunt passed from COVID an hour apart. Yeah, it's absolutely awful. I mean, we've been lucky so far. None of our close loved ones have had it, but yeah, that might change. But all we can do is keep our fingers crossed. Sending all the support, yeah. And yeah, I hope I don't get it either. And I'm from Brazil. I love RPG, studied programming in college, but need to quit because family problems, and now I dream in doing my own game in RPG Maker. I really had to quit. Oh, that's unfortunate, but you can still follow your dreams. I believe in you. You can do it, Jet, and welcome to the stream. And good luck with your game as well. That's awesome to hear. Awesome we have a fellow game RPG makers here in the stream. Oh, you haven't started it yet, but you dream of doing it. Yeah, I'm reading that correctly now. Yeah, you should. As Van says, you should. And gonna be having breakfast, but wanted to say hi and make sure you're right. Any plans for the weekend? Trying to distract myself as best as possible this week and for the next 10 days probably, because that's all you can do, right? Because, you know, we're not going to know if we're in the clear until 10 days time, because that's, I think, when we know that there's the chance for getting symptoms has passed. Hi Luna, how are you doing? It's good to see you. Hope you're having a good Friday. Welcome back to the stream, Luna. How have you been? And Happy New Year to you. Rose Sprinkles, what's up? Hi, Sorta, how are things going? Happy Friday. Just had my breakfast. What did you have, Van, for brekkie? May stay safe and warm this week. Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, if anything like big happens, of course, I don't like to say it, but you know, if you've read general chat, you know, if anything happens, I'll keep you all updated. You know, if I fall ill and have to have time off stream, but hopefully it doesn't come to that, because I'm just thinking the worst here. There's every chance that we'll all be fine, and we haven't got it. You gotta just wait and see. And scrambled egg and a small piece of stolen. Oh, sounds interesting. Sounds yummy. I like scrambled egg. Gonna study more soon. I'll buy RPG Maker in Steam. Oh yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's on sale at the moment. I think the Christmas, New Year sale stuff is over, isn't it? But I remember getting it when it was on sale. Just had sausage, egg and cheese and and everything bagel. Oh, I want a bagel now. I like salmon on my bagels. Happy New Year, Rose Rainbow Chat. Thank you, Jet. Yeah. Let's just, you know, hope it's okay. Gifted RPG Maker, but I am a Unity dev. Oh, you was gifted it. That was very kind of the person. But you do Unity Sorta, that's cool. I'm intrigued by what you do in it. Gonna play Sims 4 on my stream later today. Oh, that sounds fun, Luna. Sims 4. Yeah, I remember when I streamed that for a bit back in the day, before Raindrop Chronicles even begun. I hope everything's going alright in that game. What have you been doing in it? Tell us. Remember when I did that challenge where I locked everyone in a basement? That's how evil I am, everybody. My friends want me to make this OC of mine in RPG Maker real bad, so they figured if I had it, I'd use it. Oh, yeah, that sounds interesting. I'd be all for seeing that too. Alright everyone, so yes, just as a reminder for anyone who's coming in, anybody who, because I did say this at the start of the stream, but I'll say it again, we may be seeing our Steam launch in the coming weeks. Our Steam launch, which is just going to be a coming soon page for now, but it'll allow you to wishlist the game and see all the cool things on the Steam page, so I'm looking forward to that launch. I'll do a special news announcement when the day finally comes for the launch, on the Discord and on the social medias, Twitter probably. I mean, I don't use Twitter much at all anymore. In fact, one of the things I've told myself this year is I'm going to keep Twitter to a minimum. I'll be going on it, sporadically, to post important things, important bits, but I certainly won't be on it as a regular user anymore. It's an absolute hellhole, that place is. I went on it for 5 minutes yesterday and I deeply regretted it. I was like, why am I on here? Turn it off. And then I turned it off and everything was better. I must say, I feel in a better mood when I'm away from that website. Sims 4 is for Friday stream during week. I've been playing Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Oh, cool. Well, I hope you're enjoying it. I got my sister and a boyfriend that for Christmas because I wanted it. And I hope they're enjoying it too, because my sister and the boyfriend absolutely loved the original, just like I did. I'm a bit of a Final Fantasy 7 purist, I am, to be honest. No one messes with my baby. But yeah, I wasn't like in love with the remake, but I know a lot of people did like it, so I'm happy for the people that did and got some enjoyment out of it. PS4 version, so no mods, but I just bought some new expansions yesterday. Yeah, when I played it on the PS4 as well, because I try to avoid playing too many demanding games on my PC nowadays because it's getting older. But it sucks because there's no mod, but it can still be fun. You're a scary gamer girl. I'm a scary gamer girl, I am. I'm a very dark person deep down. Everybody assumes when they meet me that I'm this sweetheart of a person, but I'm actually really, really bad. I banned someone last stream for coming and saying, what the F am I listening to? I just banned them. No mercy. my sort of motto is just ban anyone who is like, who I know I wouldn't want to be a friend with. I'm gonna just ban them. I'm kind of very selective with who I have in my stream, so you should all be honoured, chat, because if you're here it means you've been approved into the community and you are awesome. I love your accent, it's so gently and friendly. Thank you, Jet. Yeah, and that's one reason why people think I'm a sweetheart, because I've got a very pleasant sounding voice and I'm a nice person and I'm friendly and welcoming. But my goodness, I will rain blood on people, I would. If it came down to it. That's why I've got my name. That's why I've got such a violent name. Everybody probably wonders where it's come from. Well, that's your answer. And I'll WL it as soon as it's up. Yeah, please do, sort of. Pop it in the creative work channel here. Anybody who does creative stuff. We have, oh God, I love holders. Sprites. Anyone who does creative things, pop your stuff in creative work. We have a channel specially for that kind of thing. And I had doubts I would, since FF7 wasn't one of my favourites, but the remake is great. That's what I found, Luna. The people who aren't as purist seem to be enjoying it more, specifically the ones that didn't really play the original. But yeah, I have a big list of complaints. But I'm not one of these people that throw my opinions on everybody and think, oh, I didn't like it, so you shouldn't either. If someone gets enjoyment off from it, I'm really happy for them and kind of jealous, actually, because I wish I did. I was really hoping I would love it. The main reason I didn't love it was because too much was changed for me for the original, the story. I thought the story was absolutely perfect as it was, and it didn't need to be changed. But it was changed quite drastically. So I think if you can appreciate change and don't mind change, then you'll enjoy the game, because it was a very pretty game and like very, you know, well done in that regard. But I'm one of these people who don't like my stuff messed with or changed if I love it. I watch Japanese, Russian, Chinese, North American, Brazilian streamers, but your accent is my first time. Yeah, I'm from England and I do have a very distinct English accent, but I'm glad you like it. I do get a lot of compliments on my accent. It tends to be the thing I'm most complimented on, which is great, because you want to be able to speak good if you're a streamer. I played the original in 2019 for the first time, then I played the remake when it came out, and I did not enjoy it for various reasons. Rex is the same as me. We have the same mind, don't we, Rex? I swear we're not copying each other. But we tend to agree on things. But yeah, we just got a very similar taste in games and what we like, I guess. So, but at the same time, yeah, a lot of people did like it, and I think my sister and her boyfriend will as well. In fact, when I got it them as a present for Christmas, I said to them that I really hope they'll enjoy it, you know, not be like how I was with it, because I got it as a present for them at the end of the day, so it'd be kind of sad if they didn't like my present, right? Well, shoot, want to toast you, but I don't know how to when I can't use the chat room. Yeah, what's going on with hosts lately? I know that I don't get notified anymore when I do get hosts, but it's Twitch's fault. Twitch's fault, everybody. In fact, Twitch has been weird this year, isn't it? Has anyone noticed how often it's going down? Maybe Twitch is going to die in 2021. I'm such a skeptic, but it might, and I'm already prepared. If it did, we'd go to YouTube. If I was to be on YouTube, folks, would you still watch me? Who would still watch me if I was on YouTube instead? Not saying I'm going on there. You know, I'm just saying if it came to that and I had no choice. And they took your toilet paper in 2020 and then they came for your Twitch. Yeah. It died last night and it died 2 nights before as well. Since I'm not streaming, I can't use the chat room to enter the command to host, you know. Oh wow, well maybe there'll be an opportunity for you to host me in the future, Luna. YouTube is a good backup plan, yeah. In some ways it's better. It's better than Twitch, so arguably, I guess it all depends. I'm not brave enough to take the risk though of moving because I've got all my community here, and I'd be scared that everyone wouldn't watch me anymore. And hi Pete, thank you for the follow. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. And I'd support you. Thank you, Rex. And sorry, me and YouTube have the biggest hate relationship, so I'd never go there. I'd be keeping up with your work elsewhere. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought, sort of. Like, there'd be a lot of people that wouldn't be around anymore. And I'm kind of, I mean, the way I am, after being a streamer for quite a long time now, my mindset is kind of like used to people not being around after a certain time, so I don't get like attached to anybody, because you can't really, because you'd be heartbroken all the time as a streamer if you got attached to everybody. So in that way, I've gotta just focus on what's best for the game and for the future of the game, really. Twitch isn't really amazing for me. It never really has been. I don't think it's really significantly helped me as a creator or community growth wise either, but I don't even think, I'm not even confident YouTube would either, in all honesty. I don't think it would either. So what can you do? You're going to just carry on. On one hand, you lose some of your existing community, but then gain new ones, right? Yeah, nobody knows. Nobody knows. And almost everyone who moves to YouTube comes right back, but let's just hope Twitch stays. Yeah, I'm really not in love with Twitch, though, I have to say. I used to be. I used to have these rose-tinted glasses on with Twitch around the 2017 era, and thought it was the bee's knees. I kind of lost a bit of respect in the last year, but I'm not going. I'm not like, don't think this is the start of me making some announcement that I'm moving to YouTube, but I can't say that it's not 100% that I wouldn't. It'd all depend on how things go, and you have to kind of not put all your eggs in one basket either when it comes to platforms. Because if Twitch were to do a mixer just were gone all of a sudden. Weren't they last year? They just were gone. And that was it. The streamers just had to figure out where they were going to go next. And that could happen to Twitch, you know? Who knows? Who knows? And you kind of got to think, well, you know, you need that backup plan. Otherwise, that's it. And I wouldn't like to be in that position. Right, on loads of streamers that are losing love for Twitch, I get it. Yeah, they've made a lot of mistakes. I think they're so out of touch. So out of touch, really. And Twitch has lost its way. It used to be about gaming. Now it's girls just chatting like me, Seabass. I'm a girl that's just chatting. For me, it's Twitch or YouTube. PS4 doesn't support anything else. Yeah. One thing I will say is that I will not ever go to Facebook. Like, in a million years, there's more chance of me never ever streaming again than going there. I will not be seen dead on there. So it's either stay on Twitch, you know, if Twitch behaves itself, if the community stays fantastic, then I don't see the reason for the move. But, you know, YouTube is just the backup plan if things just went to hell. Evening, Raz and Chums. Hi, Binary Ferret. How are you doing? So good to see you. And hi, T-Vil Dust. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. All the top streamers are men. I don't think women stream, we just chat. Yeah, we won't have any form of sexism in this stream. After all, I'm a woman myself, so we will not have that. Let's just end the conversation there. So, and Rose, are the only female gamers left on Twitch? Not really, but it probably seems like, yeah. Alright guys, so thanks for the chats. I mean, it's nice to sometimes have a few chats about general things other than Raindrop Chronicles related things. And hope all is well on your side. Trying my best, Binary, as you do, as we all are in this strange era of the time. Just let's hope there's a light at the end of the tunnel, right? Okay. So, last stream we were, well, this whole week we've been making this Google Doc sheet of all our characters for episode 1, folks. So everybody you see here are the characters that are in the game so far that have actually appeared in the scene. We're only focusing right now on the ones that we've actually seen, and over time, as we add more characters to the game, they'll be added to this sheet too. And what's here is literally the best character sheet / bio that you'll ever have for a character. No exaggeration. It is actually a really good way of doing it, and I've learned a lot about the characters since we've done this. I filled them in since last stream. and we'll talk about that in a sec, because it was thanks to chat that we've had some good ideas to go off, particularly with Violet, our vampire. So I'm going to talk a bit about this first, and considering it's all kind of done now, people are mostly filled in. I mean, we might have a bit of chats today about it and add a bit more if we want to, but it is mostly done, so we can move on to the next thing once we've finished chatting about this. And thank you, Itch, for the follow. I think I butchered your name pronunciation, but welcome to the stream. Alright, so we were having a bit of a chat about Violet as a character, because there was a few different ideas and where we could take her, and in all honesty we didn't really know her too well as a character, other than the fact that she's a vampire who doesn't speak and has an animalistic sort of nature. That we didn't really know much about her. There was a few contradicting things and a few things I wasn't sure of on where to take her character arc, and what she feels internally and all those kind of things. But we had a good chat about it at the end of last stream, and a few of you said some really cool things, and I looked through the VOD and I've took a few things on board to form this profile from what we discussed. So we're gonna just go over that now. I think it's pretty cool. I think I like what we got here and what we're coming up with. Is that the Baileys you were drinking? Yeah, I got it for Christmas, Binary. It was a present. It's my favourite one. What's everybody else's favourite? And okay, so this bit here, the past bit, is something that was already on her Lore Bible profile. I wrote this like literally back in early 2009 for Violet. She was just an ordinary human girl once. She was turned into a vampire. She wasn't born a vampire. So this is the interesting lore we've formed so far about vampires. They are turned into vampires from a spell or sorcery, but it's very vague at this point in time why they're turned into vampires and who turns them into vampires. There's a lot of missing questions, which is kind of fun to keep it open so that we can form that lore over time with what we think will work. But yes, she obviously, as a vampire, grew a thirst for blood. I've colour-coded these with personality traits here, well, current behaviours. So the red one is any thing that's related to her being hungry for blood. We'll talk about them in a sec. She couldn't bring herself to kill innocent citizens, so she resorted to consuming her farm animals. As an animal lover, this was difficult for me. So she's this conflicting character. Although she has this thirst for blood, she also tries to avoid violence and tries to resist her hunger. So it's a fight between wanting to not do it to really desperately wanting to do it. She doesn't really want to be a vampire. She's just been cursed as this. It's horrible. It's awful. And absorbing their blood made me take on animal-like traits and behaviour and removing my ability to speak. So this was the only reason, I guess, that she ended up unable to speak and ended up having such a beast-like nature is because she did that. She sucked the blood out of creatures that lack intelligence, and she kind of got that from them. She absorbed that. Maybe if she didn't do that, and if she sucked the blood off people or more legendary creatures that have a higher level of intelligence, that wouldn't have happened to her. But she didn't want to do that. And she's also born in the farm. She's a farmer herself. That's what she was before. So, there were creatures that just happened to be there. So she now spends her days wandering the lands alone, feeding off livestock. And the blue colour is a melancholy disposition, which I think could suit her as a character. So, and eventually she became brave enough to kill bandits, but taking down humans has made no difference. She's still now able to speak. So So yes, that's basically the past, and now we'll talk about the internal stuff going on in her head, which this is the interesting bit now, and what's gonna make her a cool character. Not a huge fan. Just recently tried, which is like Bailey's, but it tastes more like chocolate milk. Oh, that sounds interesting, a chocolate milk flavoured drink. Yeah, a lot of people don't like Bailey's. My sister hates it. So it's just one of those things that you either have a love for or you don't, but I've always been quite fond of it. You may get the reference to that, actually. It's from a British TV show. And do you ever drunk Bailey's from a shoe? I haven't. I don't think I'd want to. But I know my sister had something similar to that. I don't think she actually had it in a shoe, but she definitely had it in something quite big. She had too much Bailey's and she was meant to. You're meant to only have a small bit. You're not meant to have a pint of Bailey's. It would be horrible if you did that. I did all that if it tastes like chocolate milk. Yeah, we should. Rex, when COVID is gone and we finally get to see each other again, we should go to a wine tasting event or an alcohol tasting event and try all the yummy drinks. I like to do that. It's very Moorish. Alright, so she believes that she has lost control of her own body forever. The belief always is influenced by the past. Let's make this bigger so you can actually read it. It's a little bit small on the screen. So the belief always, the formula we've got here, it has to be influenced by the past, because otherwise where would their belief have come from if it didn't come from their past? So because of what's happened, she kind of has this what is it? What have I got it listed as? The green. A pessimistic outlook and lack of hope that she can't ever be the person she was. And not only that, but she doesn't even have trust in herself to fight her hunger and thirst for blood either. And the desire is to find some way to reverse the curse on her, if that's even possible. And I figured that would make a good desire, because the desire is something they want and it helps drive their story, but it's not necessarily the thing they need, that they really need. What they need is the thing that's here, the truth and moral theme, and that's usually the opposite of that. So the obstacle in the way their desire is that is sparked by events in their past. Okay, so This was what you guys said last stream. I think Zexion in particular was the one that sparked this idea, and we all agreed that we really liked it because it's more internal than her original fear. What I decided to do was put her original fear, the one that's currently in the Law Bible, here instead. Her original fear was that she is worried that people won't like her and assume, because they will assume she will kill them, because she's so feral. And we thought it was more interesting that if she actually is scared and fears people, that she will end up becoming the monster everyone fears she is, and that she will evolve into something more feral, which means that we gotta think of this from a character arc perspective, and if that's the case, we can't make her feral at the start, because if she's already feral at the start, then she's already experiencing that fear. So I was thinking, just so that we could potentially have more of a contrast between a feral-like Rose that she could potentially become. She should totally be not feral. She should be more like a sheep or a cow or a farm animal in terms of her behaviour, like more passive. And that would make sense if what she consumed was farm animal blood and she took on their traits and behaviours. She should really be resembling them, not so much of a wolf type of animal nature, because at the moment she's kind of a little bit feral, and it's more like a wolf rather than someone more softer and passive. So I think, like, yeah, she should be kind of docile even at the start of the game. But she is that now, and she worries that she will end up that way. And then it will make more of a difference as time goes on. And that works because we've been thinking up for a while, for the last few weeks, that Violet needs to be less violent as a character, at least at the start of the game she does when we first meet her, because Carol the Barrel bullies her and Fiona bullies her, and it's like a bit weird that they bully someone who's so dangerous. So, because, you know, that would be a bit weird. So it makes more sense that she's this more docile, passive person, even though she's a vampire. She's definitely misunderstood, and there's going to be a lot of propaganda about her. People assume that just because she's a vampire, she's this absolutely dangerous being that needs to be locked up and captured, which is why a lot of the Lake Falls citizens fear her. Okay, so yeah, people treat the new version of me like a beast. They assume I kill them, which makes me feel misunderstood now, but maybe it's better alone because I found my right. So now this is the bit that's interesting now. So I guess she would hope that you as the hero make sure that, you know, are a good influence on her, and make sure that she doesn't hurt anyone. Now that depends what kind of hero you are, right? Which I've made a list of right here now. So this was what we talked about in the last stream too, which was pretty cool. And this would be what a good or wise hero would encourage Violet to become, because what we're going with Raindrop Chronicles, a lot of you might know, some of you might not. But you are creating a hero. You create your own hero at the start of the game, and this hero is somebody that you can shape the morals of. So everybody's playthrough is going to be different because of their hero and the decisions they've made and who they're shaping their hero into as a person. So naturally, because the hero yourself could be so vastly different in different playthroughs, that means that the NPCs around you will react differently towards you too. So somebody's moral lesson and character arc ending or outcome isn't going to be the same for every single hero. There won't, you know, it's not going to be the same arc if it's a good hero or an evil hero, because that would be weird, because you've had an influence on that person and you've changed them. So this is the interesting bit. So if you're a good or wise hero, naturally it would kind of make sense for Violet to become someone who eventually realises that she has to trust herself and have self-control to remain the good person she wants to be, even if she must remain this way forever. So that is kind of like not accepting that she might not find a cure for the curse like she desires, but allowing her to realise another alternative, which is that she has to stay a vampire, but she can be a vampire who has trust in herself and her own self-control. She doesn't have to be this person who fears herself and fears that she's going to become feral and start killing people. She can believe in herself, right? So that's a good influence of a hero that would teach her that. And now a different kind of hero, maybe not so much a good or wise one, but more of a brave hero, but less wise. Someone probably going into the like your typical hero who's brave but maybe not the brightest bulb in the box might think this approach. They'd encourage her to follow her desire and find a way to cure her vampirism, and they will help Violet get her want but not her need, which is this bit here. That's what they want, and this is what they need. This bit here, this first one. So we should really put a gap there so that we don't get confused. This is other outcomes. So make that black. So yes, this is what she really needs. She needs to realise that even if she, you know, she could be a vampire forever, but just a vampire with really good self-control and trust in herself. She doesn't necessarily have to find the cure, but this other alternative outcome with this other kind of hero that's not evil but just not as wise, would probably encourage her to follow her desire, which is great. That's really honourable to encourage Violet to find her desire and reverse that curse. But it's not really giving her what she really needs. It's giving her what she wants, which is still satisfying, but not completely satisfying. It's like, because really the most satisfying thing, in my opinion, is Violet finally accepting who she is now and learning to live with being that person. And she remains powerful as well, because vampires, they can kill lots of bad people, right? And then we got evil hero. Hi Boolean Games, how you doing? And hi Zexy as well. It's so good to see you. Welcome back to the stream. We're discussing Rose. Just a quick update, because last stream we was having a lot of discussion about her, and there was a lot of directions to go with her, wasn't there? There was a bit of thoughts going round, and she was completely blank. We didn't have a filled in at the end of last stream, but looking at that discussion that we had last stream has really helped fill the rest of this in. There was a lot of stuff that you said, Zexy, and some things that Van said as well, and a few of the rest of you that helped me fill in this. And I have given her that fear, that's what she fears, because I think that really works well as a fear. And the thing that was originally her fear, which was the fear of being disliked and the fear of people assuming that she will kill them, that is better as a dissatisfaction. Because that does suck, that people wouldn't like you and think you're a beast. But this is that's more external, right? And this is more internal, and it's stronger. It's got, that is stronger, and I think, look, it just has more of an impact as a fear. So it's great, and it worked really well with these moral truths for different heroes that we're forming here as well. And this one as well, like, this is an evil hero, may encourage Violet to become her fear and to embrace a more feral and violent nature. So that was mentioned in the last stream as well. Somebody, and I think it was Vandalia, if I remember correctly, said that they imagine an evil hero actually liking a feral Violet, which is very true. So they'd actually encourage her to embrace this fear and potentially kill the innocent people too. Like, that would be a bad Violet, naughty Violet, not a good Violet. So that would be like the dark arc for Violet, but this is the opposite of that. If you had a good or wise hero, they would encourage her to be that real good person she really wants to be and have that self-control, even if she was to stay a vampire. She wouldn't have that current fear that she's going to be this monster, you know, that everyone thinks she's going to become. And then this middle outcome's also a really good one. Yeah, definitely don't think I wouldn't say it's worse than the first. It's just a different branch. It's one that would encourage her to find a way to find the cure and get her desire, rather than remain as a vampire. So it's just different potential paths there. 2D top-down RPG, that's correct, Boolean, it is indeed. My first time here, it's lovely to meet you. Yes, we are making RPG here on the Solo Developer. We're getting a coming soon Steam page in the coming weeks, so that's going to be exciting, but we're still in very early development, and we're doing a lot of like character art discussion and story discussion for main quest 1 and 2 at the moment, because that's what we're working on. And for our first playable build content, and we're trying to like really get to understand the characters and make sure that we're going to make them consistent so that they can be friggin' awesome. And sounds like you make a hecking lot of progress. I'm reading through and everything I'm seeing is nifty. Yeah, I'm feeling much more confident with Violet, and I even understand her better now since doing this, because I have to say, before filling this in for Violet, my brain was all over the place with her. I just didn't know really what was going on internally in her head fully, and it makes it very challenging to write good dialogue, you know, when you don't really understand the characters. We did a decent job, but knowing her even better is going to make it even better now. But of course, there's going to be a few alterations with this new Violet, with the current one that we've got in our scenes, just a touch. This Violet's going to be less feral. In fact, she's not going to be feral at all. Now, she is going to be animalistic, and she's going to not be able to speak like a human, but she's going to have the behaviour of a farm animal more. Like, she's going to be more docile and definitely not violent. She's going to, just like a sheep or a cow or a chicken, she's going to resemble that, and she's obviously going to remain someone who doesn't speak because she can't. But there's not going to be any like fearsomeness in her. She has a thirst for blood, but she's not violent, not yet anyway, because really the fear of her becoming violent and feral, this what I'm highlighting here, is her character arc. That's what she worries she's going to be, that she's going to become someone who's currently a little bit docile and farm animal like, but she worries she's going to become more like a wolf or a dragon in nature, which they are very feral, right? That's what she doesn't want to become, but she knows, because she has this thirst for blood, that she could easily end up that way, because she'd need to start consuming animals at some point that are more fierce, which naturally in an RPG you meet stronger monsters through the course of the journey. So she's going to have to, her narrative, the character progression in regards with who she's going to kill in battle will involve more feral-like and fierce creatures. So it's like the question is she going to have their nature? If she has consumed farm animals' blood and she became like them from having that, then there's every chance she can become like the creatures that she consumes the blood of, that are more fearsome. And that's what she fears. So I think that works, because I think there's more of a difference and a potential, more of a contrast between what she'll be like at the start to what she could become that way. Because in the beginning, originally we already had her be feral and like a wolf in behaviour, but I'm going to try and have that not happen too early on, and it fits better because then she's not a threat as much. Fiona could say something when she's got her captured in the cage, something along the lines of she's more chicken than wolf. It was all, I was expecting some fearsome beast, but no, she's more of a chicken than a wolf. And because we said we need to have evidence that Fiona knows that she's weak, Violet, that she realised that, and then Carol had over here, and then that is why Carol kind of bullies her, because she's cottoned on that Violet isn't very strong and isn't really much of a threat. But all over town there's probably all this propaganda about Violet, that she's this vampire, needs to be killed, needs to be captured. So she's definitely misunderstood, which makes sense because she is a vampire and she does have people's blood, but she's definitely more docile than people are making her out to be. And let's catch up with chat. I'm making my own 3D RPG, but it's more MMO-like and potentially slightly less story-driven. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's cool. So you're doing some on the other end, an MMO type thing, which is interesting. I'm a nerd for storytelling. It's one of my favourite hobbies, so it's always been a thing for me to create one that's very story driven. And hi Barb, how you doing? Hey Rose, I like your Violet character. We need more non-murdery vampires. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I like it too, making a very soft and docile vampire. I think it's unique because in fiction it's so common, isn't it, to have this like really bloodthirsty and violent and dangerous vampire, which, you know, that's what she fears. That's what she doesn't want to be. But she's definitely conflicted because she still has this thirst for that blood, but she's doing everything she can to not give in. And the route she takes will all depend on what hero you have. You can either be that hero that encourages her to have that self-control and trust in herself, and that, you know, she doesn't have to have this fear. She can believe that she won't kill innocents and train her to be, you know, have a strong mind. And it's almost like, it's weird comparing it to this, but it's like an addiction, I suppose. It's kind of like Violet needs to learn to train herself to have self-control and resist. So that's kind of what that outcome is. And the other one is, completely being anti against the vampire and not embracing the vampire nature and looking for a cure. And then the third one is, you know, going to the dark side and letting her eventually embrace that feral-like nature. And domesticating makes sense, especially if she's been struggling to tame her thirst. Yeah, and I think it does make sense because let's not forget the farm animal blood was the blood she absorbed. So really, chickens, pigs, cows, they're not fearsome. They don't like snarl or like get their teeth out and like hiss or anything. They're just very docile. But because the Violet in the present day that we've done in our current scenes is definitely more wolf-like in nature, and that we're going to just change it a touch so she behaves more like a farm animal rather than a wolf. But, you know, she could become that more wolfy, feral character through the course of the arc, you know. I mean, even if she does, it doesn't necessarily mean she's took that branch. She could still be quite fearsome and lose that docile way, but just have constraint and self-control. You can also get that branch if you just think, I want her to be normal again and not a vampire. So, and an interesting design of vampire lore that being less feral requires basically acting more feral and dangerous towards intelligent creatures to get their blood. Oh, if you've got any links, Matt, feel free to post them in the Discord because you always have some really interesting lore links and stuff. So if you have got anything, love to read. And yeah, leave Violet alone. She's a sweet angel and I love her. Oh, that's good. But I'm curious, guys, like, what do you think of these outcomes? Because one thing I wanted to do today was ask for your feedback on these things, and I'm going to go through them with the other characters in a sec too, but we'll start with Violet because that's where we sort of left off, and we can just see what we think. And I want to hear which ones you'd play as well, like where you folks would want to take Violet if you did a playthrough. So I'm going to move this here. So let's think of what we can say. So I believe I can find a cure, or find a way to cure my vampirism. So that's that hero is helping Violet get her want, which is a cure, but not her need. Because really her need, her true lesson and moral theme isn't this. This is just her want. But the need is truly learning to have that self-control and while staying a vampire. Because really that's even more of a stronger message than the cure, because the cure's the easy way out, isn't it? That's like, yeah, you're going to become, that's kind of like saying, yeah, you will become feral if we don't cure you of this horrible curse, so we better do something quick. That's kind of what that path is. But this path is like real impressive, because she's not only, you know, she's remaining a vampire, but she's got so much self-control that she's gained so much confidence and belief in herself that she knows that she can be a vampire, but only kill bad people and not kill good people. She can fight the thirst, and because the early game Rose that we've got here, she literally has no confidence at all or belief in herself. She really has fear of herself, and she's kind of relying on you as the hero to make sure she doesn't hurt anybody. So that's kind of what we're going with, someone that's passive and lacks confidence and has this people-pleasing nature and pessimist outlook, but she could become someone who's completely the opposite of that and has like absolutely bundles of confidence and self-control by the end, if you've took that branch. And let's catch up with the chat. Does she need to eat fresh blood, or can she eat blood sausage? Yeah, that's something to think of too. I think whatever makes it harder for Violet is the best route to go. If we make it too easy for her to get blood and a way for her to not kill people, then it's an easy way out for her, isn't it? But something that where she's forced to face this thirst, it makes it more interesting, and tension gives more tension, doesn't it? So Violet is a precious cinnamon roll that must be protected. Are you guys like her? Yeah, that's good, because we want her to be likeable, and I think that's the thing. We need to sort of feel for her. We need to worry about her and care, because the only way that people are going to get really invested in this character as we play the game and watch her arc unfold in front of us is if we're like, oh my god, what if Violet does evolve into something feral and starts killing people? What will happen to her? Like, we need to kind of be really concerned for her and take her under our wing if we're a good hero, that is. Some people might want to be like, yeah, let's turn her into a beast, yeah, let's do it, because there'll always be players like that, and it's interesting to have that dark arc as well. I believe I can embrace my fear and not be afraid of becoming feral. Now, I don't know if these are worded that well. I'm only typing in really what it is, what it comes down to. You know, what the overall just rough description of what the outcome is, but we can make it more gripping and interesting to read potentially. Okay, so, and how long ago did Violet become a vampire? Was it before the spell? Interesting question, getting a timeline on this. Now, we haven't given it a period in time yet, because I want to make sure whatever how many months ago we give it, that it all tidily fits in with everybody else's timelines, Carol's, and we got no plot holes or anything like that. So we're going to have to make sure that there's no plot holes if we give it a certain period in time. So for now, I haven't give it a time, but if you have an idea, if there's something going through your head that makes you think, oh, it would be perfect if it was then, feel free to say. Because I need to properly look at Carol's timeline and see if it can fit in with that. I mean, obviously it would have been before the hijacking. Well, yeah, it would have been before hijacking, because Violet is already a vampire when Carol's family gets kidnapped. So we know it was at least 1 month ago. But that's something I'm keeping open-ended right now until we've fully realised when the perfect time is. Oh, that was just me complimenting on what you already wrote about how they were. Oh, thanks, Matt. I appreciate the kind words. I'm feeling much better about Violet, and that's not to say she's entirely perfect, what's written here yet, which is what I wanted to discuss today. I wanted to see what you all thought and if there was anything that could be even more awesome. But I definitely feel that there's a real improvement, and she's become more interesting since filling this in. And I also think conflicted vampires are about as common as a presentation as outright evil ones, probably even more so among those when they're protagonists, but still a very solid one. Living with who she is does seem like the stronger message. It does, doesn't it? And I think that's ultimately why that's the true truth and lesson and moral and theme. Whatever one is going to have the most inspirational story impact, and be more have a stronger message behind it, I'm always going to keep that one as the top one, that the good or wise hero path will tend to go down. And then the ones in the other outcomes are the ones that the more foolish but hot-headed and brave hero would probably encourage, that isn't as smart or is the brightest bulb in the box. And this one, like, this second one, they're sort of like still very got a good-hearted nature, and they aren't cruel, they're not evil, but they're not exactly super smart like this hero would be. So they're kind of, taking the easy way out with Violet. They're helping her get her want, but not her true need and true fulfillment. Because, although this would be a happy ending, it would be lovely to be back to the person she was before and free of the curse. She's lost her power and all that character progression and strength. I mean, she's going to be pretty awesome in battle, and that's something that some heroes wouldn't want to lose, right? I believe I can embrace my fear and not be afraid of coming feral, and yeah, that's truly evil. But I think I want to reword that into something stronger and more scary. Okay. So I didn't see what someone said, but I'm guessing there was a massive troll, but thank God they're gone if that's the case. Let's catch up with Trapped. Living with who she is does seem like the stronger message, and I'm fleshing out the roses at the moment, so having this on the background is really helpful. Yeah, and I'm glad I can help inspire, because this formula we've got here, starting with the past, the backstory that develops into all these internal thoughts like the belief, desire, fear, and all this. I kind of was very much inspired by proven writers and authors. They've backed this method, and I know that Zexion knows about this method too, because he was talking about the lie that I believe the other day before I even told him I'd done this sheet. So it is a tried and tested method, and it tends to really help for good character arcs where there's real character progression and growth. And there is such a thing as flat character arcs, and any characters that have flat character arcs wouldn't have one of these sheets because they're not really changing over the course of the story. But there's still going to be an awful lot that are like this. In fact, most characters I'm going to encourage to have a character arc. But some characters, might have another role in the story, and they just have to stay a flat character arc. The fruits, for example, might have to stay a flat character arc, which we'll talk about in a bit, because I couldn't think of any truths and moral themes for them, because they're not major characters. They're definitely very significant in the story and how episode 1 is going to conclude, but they're antagonists, so I'm not sure they can have that transformation arc like the rest of the characters can, but we'll talk about that in a sec. I believe that they're going to stay a bit villainous, throughout. Just because of what we seem to be going with the fruits, they are the antagonist. I don't think there's any redemption for them as characters because of what one of the endings is going to be. And will there be a bad ending where she does succumb to her thirst? Yes. So that would be that one. I want to word this so it's more scary, so I'm going to word it like you said, Zexy. I will succumb to my thirst and kill anybody who crosses me. An evil hit, so in brackets says, and this would be what the evil hero would encourage Violet to become. So it would be an evil hero may encourage Violet to become her fear and embrace the more feral and violent nature. So they'd probably say to her, look, you don't have to be afraid of this, just do it. Those people are horrible to you, you're mistreated, you kill them. That's what an evil hero would say. But a good hero would obviously say the opposite. Be like, look, you can have that self-control, and you won't. You're a good person. You're not going to go down that path. So that one, the bad one, I'll always put at the bottom. In fact, can I get the Windows emojis up? What do they call there it is. If I put the emojis next to it, you'll be able to see a little bit clearer of the hero type this is. So let's catch up with chat. So, well, I gotta get ready to go to the store, so have a good day, Rose. Thank you, Luna. You too, thanks for stopping by. It's lovely to see you again. Get these bots on my channel too. I just banned them. Oh, there were bots, were they? I sort of think it needs to have been a while ago, because there would have been enough time for Poppy to discover Violet, emulate her, and then become a criminal. See, this was now you mention Poppy, I think it's a good time to bring her up. Part of me is thinking that the Poppy arc should happen in the present day rather than backstory, because especially now we've made Rose very docile as a character, it kind of would be a plot hole for Poppy to be impressed by her violent nature when she isn't yet that person, right? She's nothing but a pig in nature right now, or a sheep or a chicken. She's literally so passive and docile. That's what we're going to make Violet. So this feral Violet that she's going to be is going to be someone that she's naturally going to be as she fights in battle and meets us, because we're obviously going to want her in our party, so she's going to have to kill things. So maybe Poppy can be watching from the distance and think, wow, she's strong. But that's only because she's seeing her over time, because Violet is going to start as this docile character who's eventually going to become fearsome and brave. But when I say fearsome and brave, that doesn't necessarily mean evil. She can be this one and have self-control and be fearsome and brave, but just only kill the bad things, not good people like this one would, if you get what I mean. So, but you know, there is a lot of propaganda about Violet around the town, like full haters, so Poppy would have naturally heard about that, and it might have piqued her curiosity but I think it could be effective if we watch this obsession that Poppy forms of Violet through as in the present day. Like if we just kind of see her in the distance watching now and again, and we kind of like, who's that character, like stalking us sort of thing, because it can have a bit more impact if we see scenes like that unfolding before us. It can create a bit of tension to see someone watching us, and then when it actually all unfolds, we're already sort of attached because we've seen it happen in front of us. And I think it could kind of work that way, because it's kind of going to be difficult to make it part of the past, considering Violet isn't really her full like badass self yet. She hasn't got there quite yet. I'm not so sure about farm animals necessarily being docile. Chickens can be fierce little hunters. Pigs can be outright eaters, and cows include bull. Yeah, so you know what I mean. She kind of has to be somewhat. I mean, she's still a vampire at the end of the day. So even right at the start, when Fiona's got her in that cage and she's kind of like making fun and probably say something like she's more chicken than wolf, and laugh and be like, yeah, she's not scary. She can still give it as good as she gets, but more in a sort of farm animal kind of way rather than a wolf kind of way, you know. And well, they could have more of an arc on the branch where they're spared. And yeah, they were bots that tried to get you to click. Oh yeah, that happens all the time to the stream. I'm used to those bots now. Take care, Luna. More of an arc on the branch where they were spared. Who's the they? Remind me so I don't forget who we're talking about. And is it possible to romance Violet while being an evil hero? If so, I think there could be an option where an evil hero can also potentially either cure her or convince her to accept herself. Well, the evil hero can redeem themselves. So one thing I want Raindrop Chronicles to be known, I mean, this is what I'd like it to be. I know that sometimes we have limitations, and we might have to those limitations might stop me from achieving the dreams that I envision with the game. But what I ideally would love, if it's possible and if I can achieve this, is for evil heroes to potentially, lose those minus points and gain good points, and then end up redeeming themselves, because that happens in real life too. You can start as an evil person and have a change of heart along the way, and then become a good hero, and vice versa. Someone who's good could become a bad hero eventually. I think that's more fascinating and interesting than forcing the player to be locked in to a moral once they've become that. Locking them into evil forever, for example, and then there's no hope of them becoming ever good, no matter how many good points they've got, could be a little bit mean and a bit less flexible. And I love the whole redemption arc possibility, even for the protagonist hero, if you have a change of heart, but your actions should still have impact, and some NPCs might not forgive you for what you've done. But I think I do like the idea of evil hero becoming good, or vice versa, if they do want to change that moral position on their scale. And is it possible to romance them? That is a question. I think Violet overall would be an easier romance than Carol, because Violet desires being liked. She wants to feel part of something, and she's definitely more of a people pleaser than Carol. Carol's the opposite of that, so I think she'd be more likely to end up in a romance with an evil hero. I think as long as you've been nice to Violet, she'd romance you if you was any of these, as long as you've stuck by her side, right, and you've sort of not ignored her. I think if you went down the path of ignoring Violet and not making effort to develop a bond with her or connection, then you would naturally not end up a romance option with Violet, because Violet's worst fear is probably being alienated and ignored. But as long as she's getting attention from you, whether it's evil attention or good attention, she'll probably romance you if you wanted to romance her. Everything you said about Poppy being modern day rather than backstory makes sense to me. Yeah, I'm thinking that it could naturally be something we see evolve over the episode 1 and 2 period with Poppy. Maybe Poppy would make her full character arc, and we'd see Poppy in her most screen time in episode 2, for example. She might become a bigger character around episode 2, but we might see glimpses of her in episode 1. We could easily stick in a few scenes where we see Poppy looking in the distance and following us and spying on us, just to get that tension going and that curiosity where we're like, who's this person, sort of thing. But then we don't actually get to know her and figure out what's going on until episode 2. And the reason why I say episode 2 is for Poppy is because we're going to the farm in episode 2, aren't we? And the farm is where Rose was from, and the farm is where Rose's character's gonna shine a bit more, and we're gonna find out more about Rose and her history when we're on that farm, naturally, because that's where she once lived herself. So Rose's family would be living there, etc., and naturally it would make sense for Poppy's arc to become a bigger thing then too, when Rose is, so they can both be relevant to each other. So yes, and that was another thing, like thinking about who Violet, I'm still saying Rose, aren't I? Thinking about who Violet was in the past. Like I said, I've got in brackets here, the old version of me, who everybody loved, is nothing but a faded memory. And I've put that in with a question mark because we don't know if everybody loved her. That's something we need to think about, what the old version of Rose was, because Violet was, because you know what I mean? If she's alienated and misunderstood now, that would be really hard for a person who was once really liked. It would be harder for them to come to terms with, and it would have more of a dent on their confidence too, if they were really popular or liked generally or loved by their friends and family before. But if she was always unpopular and a sort of weirdo to the people, then it wouldn't be as harmful for her to now be seen as this. So that was the only reason I thought maybe she was actually really popular, like a lovable person in the village before it all happened, because then that just really would, being this person who's now treated like a beast is like the worst nightmare, because it's a real contrast to the old version of her, and that would explain why she's lost confidence and wants people to like them again, because they did before, right? And so I'm thinking maybe we could explore that possibility that she was a reasonably well liked person in the town until it all went down and happened. I mean then was the fruits. Oh, okay. And more on an arc on the branch where the sped. That's true as well, Matt. So obviously, if the fruits survive, there's going to be a potential future for those characters more, which we can talk about when we move on to them in a little while. Because we have some ideas. We know that one of the endings is going to be that they'll conquer Lakefall. So we'll talk about that in a bit. We'll stay on relevant to Violet at the moment. And I think the way an evil hero would try to cure Violet might be to have her drink demon blood or something else that gives great power but also corrupts. And that's interesting, because we'd have to think how the evil hero would make this possible because Violet by nature is a good person, so he'd have to do something pretty serious to get her to really become this feral. They would probably encourage her to suck the blood of evil beasts and some of the worst of creature kind, and naturally if she sucked the blood of those kind of creatures, like really awful creatures with terrible feral like horrible demons, etc., or whoever, I don't know if demon's the right word, but you know what I mean, she would become absolutely dreadful just like them, because I guess the summary of Violet is she becomes who she drinks, that she becomes who she consumes, right? That's kind of what we're going with here, especially now we've set in stone that yes, she will behave like a farm animal in behaviour and traits, because that's what she's been consuming. If she was ever to consume the blood of wolves and tigers, etc., in a bit later on, she'll probably become a bit more wolf-like and feral and a bit more hissy and a little bit, slightly bit more violent than the farm animal that she was at the start. But then if she has dragon blood and even worse creatures that we potentially create together, we can think of some awful, horrible, vile creatures, and that they would be who the evil hero would encourage her to go to fight. They're in the dungeon for her to become that. And because there has to be, we'd have to have a real good build up and a convincing reason for how, she's become that way. And we'll give this one that, because the truth, lesson, moral theme, the one that's first, we were always going to go by that good, wise hero. But not every player is going to, a lot of people will be very keen on playing that route and want to play that hero that is the best has the best intentions. That is very appealing. I wanted to ask you guys what route you'd play if you played the game. I'm very interested who'd play the good route and wise route, and who'd play the evil route, and who'd play the more straightforward brave hero route. I think I use this one for the brave icon. So they're like your typical more airheaded hero, right? They just do what needs to be done. They've got good intentions and they want to save the world and do what they can for their friends to find their desires, but they've not really thought deep enough into the situation. They're just looking for the obvious solution, which is why this one is find a way to cure the vampirism, rather than the more stronger message ending, which is the one above it. The farm is where all the pigs are having a civil war. Yes, there is definitely going to be something going down with the pigs in that farm. Absolutely no doubt about it. We had some really good chats about that. The pigs and the scarecrows, there's some really good plot points there already, and I'm already excited. I try not to think about it too much because we're still doing episode 1, but it's nice to know we've got like stuff and ideas for episode 2 when we go there. Hi Master Emerald, how you doing? So good to see you. Interesting, I like the idea of her changing based on what she drinks. Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because this narrative like thing of her changing what she drinks, it also fits in with the battles as well. Like, so wherever we go, like when we make enemies, for example, in areas, we got to consider Violet as a character and how, I mean, we don't have to think that deep into it, but naturally, if we want this to be realistic, we got to consider that. But we'd have to fix it so that we don't put anything too beast-like or dangerous in early game, because it wouldn't make sense if we fight in a dragon in Everbloom Forest and Violet's there sucking its blood and she doesn't become like that. So naturally things like dragons and really, really fearsome creatures are going to be more end game. But I think that makes sense with RPG battle progression anyway. You naturally get the more fearsome creatures in end game, and you get the more docile and easy creatures in early game. So I don't think that's going to be too much of a challenge to do, but we got to kind of consider it and not be blind to it, because it kind of would look like a plot hole otherwise. I'd play the good route first, but then try others. Yeah, I think it's intriguing. I think most people want to be that good hero, but it's definitely interesting, I think, to want to see other playthroughs or let's plays to see how the other routes went down. I think that's just what's one really interesting thing about RPGs that have different branches. So I'm actually going to highlight this. Yeah, I think blue was the colour I was using for good actually on the flow dialogue trees. So yeah, I'm just doing that to make it a bit clearer for you all that's in fact I'm going to make the whole thing that colour, and then it's just a bit easier to read then. Because the grey, I've only used the grey for those bits really because I don't want them to stand out too much. Problem is now it's going to be confusing because people will think it means the current behaviours with the colour coding. So I'm going to do it differently then. I forgot about that. Have it like that instead, so it's highlight. I might think of a tidier way to do it afterwards if this doesn't really look right, but we'll deal with that after. Because yeah, I'm using that other highlight methods to show the behaviours, so I don't want it to clash. Yeah, it might be a bit in your face, so I'm not sure I'm in love with it looking like that, but we'll figure it out. I just want you to be able to see it clearly that what sort of heroes these outcomes belong to. Hello, hi Space, how you doing? Welcome to stream. I hope you're doing well. And I think you're going good, but not sure about the other traits. And when I play games like this, I tend to make decisions that make sense in the moment, so I don't go with a plan to play brave or good or what have you. And that's the point, isn't it? You go with your gut and your heart on what you think the right thing to do is. Sometimes when you know what the brave or the good or the evil route is, it can take away the joy of just playing it and see what you end up with. But of course, as developers, we have to sort of see it very or in that organised, structured way. But it would be super fun to play it and be blind, that's for sure. Right, so have we covered most things about Violet? And I'm wondering if because I'm really excited to talk about Nigel and Fiona again, everyone, because I've wrote their outcomes as well, and some of them are wild. I've got some things I'll be asking you guys for ideas for as well. But we haven't done any raise the stakes for Violet, so we could always think about that. Raising the stakes, if someone doesn't know what that means, if you want me to clarify it, that means the tension in the story, something that's really going to challenge this character and make them stressed out like hell, make us feel bad for them because everything's potentially going bad for them. So the easiest way to do that, raise the stakes, that character, is to look at their fear, all their dissatisfactions and what they hate, and make it happen, right? That's the way to raise the stakes. That's how we did it with Carol, because let's just look at Carol quickly. We made a list of things that would get Carol stressed out, and we did that by looking at Carol's fear. And we know it's all about not finding a family or a life being put in danger from flesh bags are her fear, and that's why we listed those things. Hi Sympathy, how you doing? It's so good to see you. Hope you're well, and thank you Duke for that follow. I hope you're well. Happy New Year, Sympathy, as well. How was your holes? Hope you had a good one. And I really like the name Violet. Yeah, it's good. She was originally called Rose after May, but I changed her to Violet because I wanted her to keep the name of a flower. But I think Violet suits her. I'm even thinking of changing her current blue eye colour to a violet colour eyes. But that won't really change the look of her that much because violet and blue are kind of similar. But it would just connect with her name a bit more. And I changed the name for the reason of because she's going to be a romanceable option. And I didn't want Rose myself. I didn't want it to be me because people get a bit creepy, don't they? So I didn't want any weird comments from fans being like, I'm going to romance the developer, wink wink. So yeah, this way I get to avoid that creepy stuff. Happy New Year. Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, I think this name's perfect for her. And yes, this is all very exciting. We're forming her arc. I'm still not sure I'm in love with these garish highlights yet, but I want a way to make them show up. I'm going to tidy this up after stream, potentially, if I figure out another way to do it. We'll think about the stakes. I want to kind of think about it now though. So okay, so people just treat Rose absolutely awfully. People treat Violet, not Rose. I still call her Rose. Now, how did we do it for Carol? I'm going to just list some way to potentially raise the stakes with Violet, folks, based on her fears and dissatisfactions and make them come true in this list here. And it doesn't mean that we're going to... Anything on this list might not even happen, but it could potentially give us some good ideas for future plot points in scenes. So it's nice to have the list there because you never know, we might think actually that we can have that happen in so and so scene. It just gives us something to I mean, that's sort of already happening in the scenes that we've got right now, but we can always just turn it up a bit more and make it a bit more severe. And that's because that's one of, you know, looking at these things, people treating her like a beast, making her feel misunderstood and alienated, feeling better like that she should be alone. It's all something she hates that's going to make her upset, and it's going to make us feel sorry for her. So that's one way to do it. Evolving something more fair and start killing people. So that, we could always say that she just starts killing people, but we need to have it make sense. Or maybe even she's put in a situation where she has to kill somebody that she doesn't want to. Or she accidentally kills somebody and then she's like, oh no, I'm a monster. I must be a monster. So maybe that Violet accidentally kills an innocent person. Violet is forced into a situation where she has to kill an innocent person. And another way to raise the stakes, so another technique could be to look at their desire and make them feel like their desire will never happen. I think that's another way we could do it. So we could have something like, somebody tells Violet that it's impossible for her to find a cure. Well, to reverse her curse and find a cure. So that would be a complete bummer, wouldn't it, if someone actually said, you can't do it. I mean, they could be lying. They could be lying, or they might not have the full knowledge. It could totally be possible. But it would be a moment where we'd be like, damn, yeah, you got to be a vampire forever now. So, Violet loses control of her body and gives in to a thirst. We see Violet lose control of her body and give into her thirst for a moment. Because that would raise the tension a bit if we saw her like behaving a bit erratically and be like, what are you doing? And then we'd know that she was, that's the danger, because we care about Violet because we know she's a good person and doesn't want to kill people. And then she's very docile, she's very sweet, despite being a vampire. But seeing her like that would make us panic because we'd worry about her. We know that that's what she fears. You know, that will happen. So things like this, I think, could help raise the stakes. But I'm curious what you guys think too, and if anyone else has any potential plot points or character, you know, arc events that could happen. And even just killing a somewhat threatening person might stress her if she thinks they have a reasonable motivation but can't get them to back down. Yeah, that's true as well. So we can always put that one there. Violet kills a person who, well, yeah, a threatening person is probably the best way to put it, actually. And feels guilty about it because she's still finding it hard to kill bandits. In fact, I was wondering if maybe she's not even done that right now. I mean, I'm not sure if we should cut that out yet, because we do have that part in Carol's flashback where she does chomp the hijacker. I was thinking, there was part of me that made me think, should we change that bit and have her stand there docile and not do it and get captured instead? Because we could go down that route and it wouldn't change the flashback outcome much more at all. all that would have happened was the event that would have been different that led up to it, but the outcome would be the same. So currently she bites the hijacker and chomps him, and we could see it as, oh, he was just a bad person anyway, so that's why she did it. But if we want to make her more feeble and kind, she would avoid even doing that to the hijacker, right? So she could totally just be standing there watching the the wagon drive by, and then because she's so docile and vulnerable, that she gets captured instead. So it's up to us what we think the best way to handle that scene is, and if having it be like that is better or not. But that's what we can discuss between us. Let's catch up with chat then. So you said the farm in episode 2 is where Violet is from, right? What if while there she encounters someone she knew in her old life? Violet tries to avoid them, but they corner Violet and confront her for leaving. Violet tries to get away and injures the person. I would think the massive hunger mixed with the smell of blood overcame Violet's self-control. Yeah, so that we could totally do that, where we see that indication that Violet had the thirst for hunger in that flashback, which is what we've currently done anyway. So either way works. It's just, we got to be careful how it's the scene is directed and that, so that Violet doesn't come across as like an absolute beast either, because that is, we kind of like that she's got that softness about her and that at the start. So we'd have to think about how she'd look like and how she acts when she's going through this hunger and that, and showing that conflicted emotion, I guess. It's a challenging one. But okay, so that's a good one. I figured the farm in episode 2, because it's where she's from, that would be where the juicy, meaty part of Violet's character story and arc would take place. And the moment where we get to really kind of know her backstory, because in episode 1 she's still going to be a bit of an enigma to us. Violet encounters someone she knew in her old life at the farm. Violet tries to avoid them, but they corner her and confront her for leaving. Violet tries to get away and injures the person. Okay, so that's the thing. I wonder, again, bringing up what old Violet was like. I'm thinking right now, old Violet, we could be vague about this if we want at this point in time, but I'm thinking she was quite well liked and popular. So a lot of those people either would have completely disowned her and abandoned her once that she turned vampire, which dented her self-esteem massively. Or some of them just didn't know what happened to her because she went missing, and they were like, okay, where's she gone? So that would sort of make sense. They'd be like, where have you gone? And obviously in a panic that could happen. Be an interesting scenario to sort of picture. I'm not in love with that. I'm going to get rid of it. And I can't give it a colour because it's going to clash with the colour coding of the current behaviours. So yeah. Well, yeah, we can just have it black but not bolded, and that works. And I've got another idea. Put that there instead. Because the problem is if we put it there, it's making it look like that's violet, but really it's the hero's influence, so it makes more sense having that there. Should I underline that bit? That might kind of makes it stand out a bit. I might have that. Okay, cool. I think we talked about Violet a lot. I'm really happy with the conversation. We've had some talks. You guys have expressed how much you love her, which is awesome. We've had people in chat today saying they like her, so that's plus points. Okay, we can move. Whenever we've dried up with the Violet conversations, we can talk about, we'll go back to Nigel and Fiona, because some interesting stuff to discuss about them as well. You could use brackets around the hero's influence if you're so inclined. Yeah, I think that's what I did at first. I put them in round normal brackets, but then I wanted it to stand out a bit more. I think it's okay like that, but if I start to think it looks a bit messy, I'll do it to that instead. I always change my mind. I'm indecisive. Alright, so if anyone has any more thoughts at all about Violet, feel free to say, totally. But we will move on to Nigel and Fiona, because I wrote their outcomes as well, and there's some interesting thoughts. It actually turned out great when I was listing their outcomes. It just happened to just fit perfectly. So, and I really like the story and everything you're going. Though it looks like a lot of the characters have similar skin tones, are there any plans to add more diversity? Yes, we're gonna add some, because there's gonna be way more NPCs when we populate Lakefall, because Lakefall at the moment only has this brother and sister, Fiona and Nigel, and we're gonna populate Lakefall with at least a dozen more people, I'd say. It's got to be reasonably well populated. I was thinking I would like some diversity because, you know, the funny enough, I noticed myself, because we have community characters on our lore bible, which if you've looked at the lore bible you might have noticed the big list, but a lot of those community characters aren't even in the game in episode 1 and won't be until the future. So but yeah, there's been nobody that's done like anybody of colour really, which I'm shocked at, but that's just how it's turned out. So we'll definitely make sure that we have some diversity in Nightfall. I think that's very important, especially with the, you know, this game and what the themes are as well. And because it's a whole human versus reptile kind of thing here, we kind of want to have like a diverse group of humans as well, so they're at least more likable. And they don't come across as completely racist either, because they're, you know, not everybody is going to hate the reptiles, and it's going to be the more old school viewing people that probably are. Okay, so, but I'd say that we'll say, but it's going to be very interesting to make some more Lakefall NPCs. And hopefully we do get more community character submissions in the future that are different and diverse as well. That's why I'm always happy when someone's a beast race as well, because it's different to just your normal, typical human. Alright, so here we are now. How are we doing this? So here's the emojis. We'll just get those in so it's tidy, but some of you might be reading it. Luckily it's kind of easy to just quickly do that. Oh no, that one should be this. Why have I put that one there? Make it black, because the black stands out more than the grey, So I want it to stand out, but I don't want it to stand out too much, so I'm unbolding this bit. And I want to put the emojis here so that it's a little bit clearer what root is what. But you can read them if you want. We'll read them as we do it. Okay, so we'll start with Nigel and then we'll move on to Fiona. I don't have any more character art questions about Violet. The questions I do have, I'm a pop in Discord after him. Yeah, totally feel free to do that as well if you'd like to, because if you've got something more lengthy to say or that requires more thought, it's always the best place to put it. Okay, so other outcomes. Alright, so this is the main moral truth, like your typical good or wise hero, just like the one we had for Violet that was good. This is like the really inspiring story ending, really. So, despite all the terrible things that have happened, people can get over their fears and move on from them, including myself. Living in fear of the past is no life at all. Because this character he's very fearful, he's scared, he's gone through a lot of trauma, he's had a lot of bad luck in his life and been exposed to a lot of things, and it's left him kind of struggling to function and carry on with his life and be without his sister. And he relies on his sister a lot to keep him going. He struggles to be on his own. And his sister's like the polar opposite of him. She's very brave, she's very spontaneous, and she wasn't exposed to all the stuff that he was. That's why he's got that worried face, and that's why she's far more fierce looking, because they're absolute polar opposites. And I suppose we sort of decided, didn't we, that would be great, a really great inspiring ending for Nigel, to finally get over his fears, realise he can move on from them, and not live in fear anymore. And that's a good ending for Nigel, because it also really helps Fiona's ending become good as well and happy, which is this one. So a good or wise hero for Fiona. No, not that one. I encourage Fiona to realise that her belief is, and I don't have to be trapped here to give up my love for exploring. If given a chance, I believe my brother can learn to survive without me and be independent. Because this girl has like a love for Wanderlust. She adores exploring, and she's being tied down to the village because she owns the inn, and it's her brother that's holding her back most of all, because she realises that he can't cope without her, and she feels incredibly guilty about leaving him to suffer alone. But really she doesn't want to have that life. She wants to have a life of exploring. So really her perfect ending would be realising she can still explore, but to do that without having that guilt forever. She could only do it if she knew Nigel had got over those fears. So those two endings come hand in hand. Like if Nigel gets this ending, then naturally Fiona would get this ending. So because these two characters are kind of in one, if that makes sense. So whatever outcome one gets, the other has to get the matching outcome too. Otherwise it wouldn't work. So now the other outcomes we've listed, so we're going to get into them, are we? And an evil hero makes Nigel take the killing blow because his desire is 94. Wow, we're definitely going to talk. There's going to definitely be some things to talk about with this, so I'm excited. We'll do one at a time and we'll go through them all. So, a cowardly or foolish hero. So, let's first of all get the emoji for that kind of hero in. So, a cowardly or foolish hero, but they're not evil, this cowardly or foolish hero, they're just a bit of a coward, a bit like Nigel. May encourage Nigel to follow his desire and back him up by also telling citizens to stop their reckless behaviour. They help Nigel get his want but not his need. So again, similar to the Violet story, this kind of hero, they're helping them get their desire, their want, which isn't for Nigel, to people to keep themselves safe and stop their reckless behaviour, which is the behaviour of Nigel being rigid and fixed in his ways to kind of deal with his trauma, and have people be there and not risk their lives so that he feels safe. That is kind of supporting Nigel in his desire and backing him up, making sure, you know, they say, look, you can't be doing this, Fiona, get in the side, sort of thing. They support, this sort of hero supports Nigel, but they don't see the bigger picture that Nigel should, you know, it's probably better to not enable Nigel and actually to make him overcome that, but it's still helping Nigel. You're giving him what he wants, right? And then the polar opposite of this, we get this brave icon. So the opposite of the cowardly, foolish hero on the scale, can't find it now, here it is. But this is for Fiona, this outcome. But it's still a bit foolish, so that's why we've got them on the foolish scale. But they're not cowardly, this one. This is a brave hero type. So they may encourage Fiona to follow her desire by telling her to keep exploring and not be guilt-tripped by her cowardly brother. They help Fiona get her want but not her needs, which is to explore. But they're not being very considerate of Nigel. They're like, oh, stuff him, like, you know, just do what you want, don't feel guilty. So unlike this one where they're encouraging Fiona to not give up the love for exploring, doing the same thing, they're not solving the brother problem and the guilt problem for her. But they've definitely took Fiona's side. So this kind of hero has took Fiona's side over Nigel's side. So it looks like we're forming which sibling are you going to back up kind of choices here. Maybe it should be cowardly or wise hero to better mirror Fiona's brave or foolish. Yeah, I guess it's hard to say wise because naturally the wise hero is going to fall under this bracket. You know, if anyone's starting to get wisdom points, they're more likely to get the real true, inspiring truth ending because they've seen the bigger picture and they're more wiser in character. So I kind of see this one as the foolish outcome, but not evil. You're a good hero, but you're a little bit wet behind the ears, a little bit, you know, not the brightest bulb, but you've got good intentions. So I'm kind of just trying to separate it so we don't end up thinking, well, that's the wise one and that's the wise one, so which one is it? Because then it could almost be we're not sort of distinguishing enough which ending they're going to get. But we'll talk about that because there might be something I've not thought of that you thought of, Zexy, because I know you're good at figuring out all those variables and those kind of things. So maybe there is a way to do it, but that kind of just feels like the easiest and most less confusing one, I guess. Never mind, disregard what I says. I taught myself out of. Oh, so you get what I mean then now. Yeah, that's the only thing. We don't want the line to be too blurred with what ending we end up with. So naturally, I'm sticking with the wise one there. So yeah, so that's the brave and foolish, and this is the cowardly and foolish. The cowardly sides with Nigel, brave sides with Fiona, because I think those two traits sum them up quite well. Fiona's brave and Nigel's the cowardly one. So naturally, if you're a cowardly hero, you're going to be more like-minded with like Nigel, aren't you? You're going to agree that people should be behaving and stopping their reckless behaviour. But if you're like Fiona, if you're brave like Fiona, you're going to kind of be on her side a bit more through all this. Now, this is where it gets interesting, when the evil hero enters the equation, because what we've had so far is just the heroes with good intentions. So let's start with Nigel. Now, you can get evil heroes that are on Nigel's side or Fiona's side, but you can get evil heroes that are on neither of their sides as well, right? So an evil hero that is on Nigel's side, let's underline now, may lock Fiona in the inn so she can't escape, forcing Fiona to face her fear. Because with the evil hero, it's all about forcing them to face their fear, because that is evil to do. So because this hero is on Nigel's side, they're making Fiona face the fear, not Nigel. And Fiona's fear is that my brother will do something drastic to stop me from exploring because he needs me and can't cope without me. That's what Fiona fears, that he's going to do something like that. So naturally, something drastic's locking her in a room, right? That's kind of the first thing I thought of, and that is quite evil and extreme. So, you know, that's like one step forward from that. You're kind of telling citizens to stop what they're doing, but this is like literally, you know, you are verging on a little bit evil if you're going to lock her in the inn. So moving on to the evil person on Fiona's side now. So let's make that black but unbold it. So an evil hero on Fiona's side may get Nigel killed, so Fiona no longer has nobody to stop her. Right, that is like definitely verging on evil, because unlike this one, the one above, you're not murdering anybody in that one. You're just saying, oh, stuff him, just do it. Just explore. Don't let him guilt trip you. And they're not letting... They're being a bit foolish in how they're not letting Fiona realise, you know, you got to make sure your brother's okay, though, and that he can survive and be independent. Deal with that first, and then you can explore. That one, they're kind of being like, screw him. And this one's taking a step further and actually murdering the guy. And then they're kind of on Fiona's side, because they're thinking, well, now he's dead, you can go, you can explore. And now the evil, really, really, truly evil one, because this is an evil hero who is not on any of their sides. And this is the same for both, by the way. It's the exact same one, because they're not on either of their sides. Oops. So on both, it basically says the same thing, but it basically says an evil hero not on Nigel's side or Fiona's side may force Nigel to face his fear of losing his sister by continuously putting Nigel in Fiona in situations that will eventually get her killed, like pushing her in the lake and worse. And I've wrote a bit more on this. So force Nigel to face his fear of losing his sister by putting Fiona in situations that will eventually get her killed. Pushing in the lake was foreshadowing of what may come, but we need even more ideas, which is true, because we already have decided long ago that you as the evil hero do get the option to push Fiona in the lake, which is why this works so perfectly, because we'd already started writing it. But this is forming the start of a foreshadowing of a character arc here. The pushing in the lake is just the beginning. But an evil hero can outright end up getting rid of Fiona once and for all, and that would be the worst ending for the siblings, because if you killed Fiona, yeah, Raindrop Chronicles is getting dark now. If you kill Fiona, then Nigel would be destroyed. That's his fear. My sister will get herself killed and leave me to suffer on my own. I don't know what I'd do without her. So naturally, that just flowed and worked really well with what was doing, because we were already pushing her in likes as the evil hero, and it's just the beginnings of plotting her murder. So yes, it's all very, and could end very nicely and inspiring, but it could be very disastrous as well. So I will continue to stop to keep telling citizens to stop their reckless behaviour. Because I write this sentence so that it's, you know, in Nigel's point of view in wording. The stuff in italics is just like how the hero influences them. Oops, typos. Continue to keep telling citizens to stop their reckless behaviour. I will lock my sister in the inn so that she can't escape. What a bad influence. I don't think Nigel would have ever have done this if it wasn't for your bad influence, hero. The thought wouldn't have crossed his mind. But, you know, I think Nigel would do it if you like kind of put those ideas into his head. My sister is dead. I am. What does he say? What's his for? I don't know what I'd do without her. Now, if you romance Nigel, you might be able to pull him out of his grief. This could have many little intricacies and variables to it. You know, characters' endings could greatly change depending on paths that you've took, but because an evil hero could probably romance Nigel, because Nigel, like Violet, just wants to be liked. He doesn't really have that principled moral compass that Carol does. Carol wouldn't touch an evil hero with a barge pole, but someone like Nigel or Violet, they parallel each other actually, they're both people pleasers. They would be okay with romancing an evil hero as long as they were nice to them. I mean, Nigel wouldn't know that you killed her. Oh my god. Okay, so if Nigel locks Fiona in the inn, are the customers not going to notice? Yeah, see, this is things we need to think about, because I could imagine that scene being wild. Like, she'd be going nuts, and potentially the residents of Lightfall would notice this and they'd be like, what's going on? I guess it all depends how we want the scene to pan out and what we want to exactly occur in that scene, because this is just like the basic outline, right? We could go many ways in how that scene could unfold, so I'm all for listening to it. And locking in the inn was literally just the thing that seemed logical, considering that's where they live and work, and that makes sense, that lock her in a building so she can't leave. She can't explore then if she's locked in a building. But it would be a bit of a disaster, and it would be interesting to think of how that would all go, because this is just outlines. This is like an outline of the other outcomes, but there's so many little details and intricacies about how these could unfold. But this one is mad. Like, imagine romancing Nigel if you was a male hero and you being evil, killing his sister, and yet still be romancing him, and Nigel just being completely unaware. That is savage. I wonder if he'd ever find out. But I'm loving all these little variables and ideas, even though it's still early days and could be reshaped or however. Just seeing the possibilities and the differences is like really interesting, and it's kind of going to be interesting to sort of do and write as scenes and do test plays of and see the different outcomes as we do it. So when you say romancing Nigel, I keep thinking of that Judge So You Can Dance. Oh really? I've not seen that show, so I don't know then. That's funny though. There's a Nigel on that. I'm sure he's not as much as a husband out as Exian as this Nigel though, because I know that Zexy thinks that Nigel's husbando material, and he's a male only romance option, so you have to be a guy to romance him, because all our characters are going to have their own like romantic preferences. Not everybody's going to like the opposite gender, obviously. Some people would romance all genders as well, like someone like Carol the Barrel would romance anybody. But she's a fuss pot though. She's definitely very fussy, but she would romance any of the genders in the game. Okay, so I put a bit more info in this one, so I'm going to actually copy and paste this so it's the same, because really this is the same. The wording's the same on this. Because I couldn't do two different I don't think it was possible to do two different outcomes for this, for Nigel and Fiona, because this was literally a hero that's on neither of their sides. But the ones where you take one of their sides, that one is for Nigel's side and this one's for Fiona's side. There's a bit of a difference. So the hero on Fiona's side will kill Nigel, and the hero on Nigel's side will lock Fiona in the inn. And the hero on neither sides will kill Fiona, because that ruins both their lives, you see. If you kill if Fiona's dead, Nigel's life is over as well, basically, because he'll never cope on his own. But if you just kill Nigel, then Fiona's can, although she'd be absolutely devastated, she would be able to explore and do what she loves. But I don't know if locking Fiona in an inn will end well. We'll have to have a think about that, but it's still an interesting scene to think of how it could go down. I mean, she might completely give in. She might be like, okay, I'll stay here. But that's a bit mean on Fiona. And it's bad Nigel, but bad hero for being a bad influence. Because I think at first Nigel would be like, no, I can't lock my sister, no. And he's very like posh in the way he speaks. So I think that he wouldn't be happy, but you'd manipulate him to do it. And I wish Persona 5 did that. I wanted to date Ryuji so badly. Yeah. I think it's more interesting and more realistic if they have preferences, because it makes it seem a little bit. It's a bit silly and not as good as it if everybody just liked the opposite gender. I think I'm all for like doing that, really. It's just better. That's what we want, and it just better for people, like, you know, people after all don't want to be forced into romance in the opposite gender. It's not fair, and I think a lot of games nowadays are realising that in a change. I know Mass Effect and Dragon Age series, I believe they're two that do. I think BioWare are quite good with things like that. And I'm wondering what other games are as well. But I had to pick a lady, so I dated the Doctor. Yeah. Never know. Some games could start following in those footsteps, though, in the coming in the coming months and years, hopefully. And what if we kind of flip it? Instead of killing Nigel to help Fiona, what if convincing him to lock Fiona up is how we help her when the townsfolk realise what happened and let her out? She's so angry with Nigel and leaves, and Nigel is ruined. Fiona is angry, but she's free of the shackles of guilt. So that's kind of, let me just take that in so I get it properly. So that's like a sort of almost like reverse psychology thing, if I get what you mean, where you do a plan and you know she's going to be fuming and will want nothing to do with Nigel and he'll just leave the town because she hates Nigel for doing that to her. That kind of approach, which could work. I'm kind of thinking if that happened in that version of being on Fiona's side, how it would go for the hero on Nigel's side. How would Fiona react? Would she give in to Nigel, and why would that variable be different to that one? Why, you know, that's the only thing. You just don't want Nigel getting killed off. I've worked it out now. It would break your heart if there was a branch where Nigel was dead. But yes, this is an outline, so this could be reshaped totally. These are just initial ideas. But we can definitely, at some point, I can see us having a stream where we get all these outcomes out. Specifically Nigel's and Fiona's, because they're episode 1 stories. Rose's is more of an overarching one. I mean Violet's, sorry, I keep saying Rose. So for example, this one here, I'm highlighting this one's Violet's. All this will go through till to episode 6, and we don't exactly need to be like, oh my gosh, let's outline this now. But at least knowing this for Violet will help us stay consistent with the character, knowing the end point, you know. We can build those plot points that will eventually lead to it. But for Nigel and Fiona in particular, we'll be focusing on their stories more actively, because it is episode 1 stuff. And this year, 2021, the biggest goal of 2021 for Raindrop Chronicles is getting episode 1's main quest story finished, which is 6 main quests. We've done 2 of them so far. Any of the side quest stuff, any features, any of that stuff that really builds on the game will be done in the first half of next year, once all the main story stuff is, we're happy with it. But yes, this stuff is main quest stuff. And naturally, it's all gonna be inserted in with the main quest. We are returning to like fall in main quest 3. So at some points, this is all we'll have to figure out a way how to fit in these outcomes with the rest of it, but it'll have to be at the right time, and it'll have to flow naturally in with the rest of the story. Obviously, this is all end stuff, so it's more likely going to be main quest 5 and 6 points when this happens. Not mid episode 1, because then the arc's over, I guess, before it's even begun. But maybe it is mid. Maybe it would happen in main quest 3, because we're going to see the reptiles in the cave in main quest 4, and then main quest 5 is the big battle, and all family drama stuff would have to have been dealt with by the battle, for sure. So we'll have to have a think about that. It'll all depend when the best part of the plot comes in. But it could either be main quest 3 if we want to do it really early. It might be a bit premature though, or it could be after we've come out the cave and revisit Lake 4, because I think there'll be an opportunity to go back there. So, and that might be the right time, just before the battle begins. But we'll think more deeply into that when we start outlining those main quests, because we haven't even begun on main quest 3 yet. We're still finishing off main quest 1 and 2. And Nigel and Fiona's story is going to be fully in the main quest. I assume they'd be introduced in main quest 1, but then side quest would be where you'd start to get development, and if you finish those quest chains you get the character arc. So with side quests, the only thing is they're optional. So the main quest and the outcomes aren't going to be as hard hitting and impactful if the citizens are strangers to us, which of course to people who haven't done the side quest would mean that we don't really understand them and how they tick all those things as well. So that's something to think about. I mean, it is a good point because we can't insert everything in the main quest, you know, and some of it might be optional. But I'm starting to think, I don't know if it would be considered a side quest either. Because there's definitely going to be optional little things you can do. Obviously, talking to citizens is an optional thing that people shouldn't feel forced to do. But it's pretty obvious that the ones that do talk to them all experience the full story to its fullest. And anyone that just does the main quest and doesn't talk to the NPCs isn't really experiencing the full experience. But at the same time, I don't like railroading. And I don't want to force people to do all this stuff if there's not a relevance either, or it's not part of the main arc. So that's something to think about, what bits are going to be part of the main arc and what bits are going to be optional, whether a side quest or just an optional character interaction. Because some character interactions and choices and conversation with characters, like romance options and conversations, and that wouldn't even be classed as a side quest. They'd be seen more as just a character interaction that happens on the side, I think. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, even if we decide, we're not going to make it rigidly part of the main quest where you're forced in on this, even if we decide that, which could be the case, we still even so need to figure out when the good point in the main quest it would be to have these interactions, because it'll become doable at a certain point, won't it? In the game, it'll be triggered, this ability to do this and have this conversation that leads to this. There'll be a trigger, and we have to pick the right time for the trigger, whether that's an optional trigger that only players that go up to the character can do, or whether it's a forced main quest trigger that happens. So it's still really not going to affect whether we choose for it to be part of the main quest or separate from the main quest. We still need to figure out the right point in time that it's going to happen, even so. Hi Rose, hi Zava, how are you doing? It's good to see you. But yes, all that kind of things actually still being made for decision, but it's all going to be what feels the most natural and what makes sense, I guess. And once we've gone back to Lakefall and handed in the quest to Nigel and Fiona, and we know how that scene unfolds and what's said in that scene and how it goes down, I guess we'll figure out at that point how naturally stuff like this can blend into that main quest 3. And whether it can naturally blend into it or has to be a separate part. I figure that will be the point when we figure that out fully. But it's nice to get it out so nothing comes as a surprise to us. I'm really glad that we're getting the outcomes down, because now we know, now we get even an outline, seeing this, we've got it in our heads what's going to happen at some point, and it's going to just make that journey, those plot points to get there a little bit easier than if we was completely blank. We can make it make sense as well. How are you doing those, Ava? I hope you're having a good Friday. Okay, so that was the outline for Fiona and Nigel, folks, and Zexy's had some ideas. Zexy definitely doesn't want Nigel to die. I personally like having each of the siblings potentially end up dead. You know, depending on what branch you take, like nobody's safe sort of thing. And it all depends on how you do it. I'm an evil author, and I weirdly like every character potentially being dead. It's, you know, everybody can have that ending if events lead to that, just like real life. Nobody's immune. Nobody, not even Violet's immune. She could die too by a later episode. I'm so savage. Okay, and we'll just talk quickly I do want to move on to the fruits, because one thing I did want to do before we ended today was quickly discuss scene 5 of Main Quest 2. I mentioned that we was going to do that today, but we ended up talking about this for way longer. But we'll finish talking about, because we haven't spoke about Carol's outcomes yet, so just organise this so that it looks cool. Now, where's our good hero icon? Other outcomes. So again, just like the others, we're going to follow this same pattern, so that it's a bit easier for us. This is the inspiring moral truth, good, wise ending, like that really strong message that's going to make you feel all warm inside when it ends that way. We've got one of those for each character. We've got Nigel's, we've got Fiona's, we've got Violet's, and this is Carol's, as you know. Lovely ending for Carol. Now, the other endings for Carol, it follows the same sort of structure, that like about Carol realising a brave hero, what they do. They'd probably, the difference between them and the wise hero is that they're not seeing the bigger picture. They've got a good heart and they want Carol to find her family, and they want to encourage that desire to find Carol's family for her, but they don't actively encourage her. But they don't actively encourage her to bond outside her own kind. They're not challenging Carol to broaden her mind, and her sense of community and belonging. They're sort of enabling her to just stick with her family. So they're giving her what she wants, that desire of being with that family, but they're not helping her get what she really needs, which is this. So again, it follows the same pattern as the Rose outcome, the Violet outcome, where you're finding a cure for Violet's vampirism. So you're giving Violet what she wants, a cure. But you're not really helping Violet get what she wants by doing that. Helping Violet, giving Violet what she needs is this one. She remains a vampire, but she just learns to have self-control. That's a stronger message than just the easy way out, which is the cure. So it's following that same pattern. It's still a good ending, and it's still like, you know, wanting the best for your friend, your fellow party member, sort of, that you want them to follow their desire, but you're just giving them what they want. You're not seeing the bigger picture. That's the bigger picture. And then it's the evil hero. Now, this is an interesting thinking, how the evil hero could have an influence on Carol, and I assumed, I'll catch up with you guys in a sec, because I know you've been saying things in chat and I want to read. So, an evil hero may force Carol to face her fear by continuously intimidating and threatening her, further proving to Carol that humans can't be trusted. I mean, we can think about that a bit deeper if we want, and really what sort of relationship that could end up being. I even have this theory that an evil hero will force Carol to abandon her mission of being your inventory even at some point in the game, and she'll want absolutely nothing to do with you because you've just... Carol's a strong person, she won't put up with crap for long, right? So that could even happen, where you lose Carol if you're evil, and that's your sort of punishment for being that. Because the fact is, Carol is not gonna stick by an evil hero. She's a bit different to Violet and Nigel. Like I says about Nigel, he would even maybe have a relationship with an evil hero, as long as that evil hero is on his side and nice to him. And same with Violet. Violet would have a relationship with an evil hero, even if, you know, one that's encouraging her to be all feral, as long as she felt that that evil hero supported her and loved her, she would potentially still be with him. She'd just be a bad girl Violet with that hero. Okay, so there we go, that's that done. So Met said, branch where the hero dies early on, and the rest of the game you just passively watch everyone else as a ghost. Well, yeah. And Luna, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. Imagine a quest like that where we make people think you're dead and everyone's a ghost, and then it's just a vision, it's a dream. Everyone would feel cheated. At first they'd be like, wow, this game really has branching paths, but then they realise that nah, everything's fine. Okay, and I think that Carol is stubborn enough that she will drop the hero after her goals have been completed. Yeah, so we could even add that she sticks with you, but only once her goal has been completed, because she needs you. She needs that bodyguard to help assist her. So she knows as a barrel she's got no chance of finding her family or getting far on her own, so she'll stick with you, but she'll just drop you once. I can see that making a lot of sense. Drop you once her goal, typos are unreal, has been achieved. Even might be a bit better wording for that. And that's interesting. It almost makes me, I think that would shock people. I think people might not believe it's possible to lose Carol, because she literally is the main character and MVP sidekick of the game. But imagine, like, I'm talking mid-end game here, when the hero has done so much damage and Carol's achieved a goal, that she drops you at that point. So we'd already have had a few episodes with Carol anyway, but we do lose her at that point, and the question is, would we ever see her again? Maybe if you redeemed yourself and actually felt remorse for what you did and think, holy crap, Carol actually has gone, my god, what? Like, if you were that kind of hero that thought that you could push her, but then she actually did go, you might honestly miss her so much and regret what you've done, that you turn good and then get Carol back. Who knows? If you found your error of your ways, she might forgive you. But that's interesting, and how would go. Like, you need to have a replacement inventory for a start. Maybe another object would be willing to take over, eh? And you know, but they're not Carol. They're still not our Carol, so wouldn't be the same, would it? And And you know, we have been calling the evil one a hero. We might need to choose another now. Yeah, I mean, I think it's subjective. I want to be careful about getting super black and white where we say, oh God, they're evil and they're the worst. Because I still think there's room for redemption, and even evil heroes are just a little bit roguey, you know. They're a bit of a scoundrel, a bit of a renegade almost. That's how Mass Effect call it. So there's still heroes is the term for the protagonist, and for us, so it's just easier. We don't want to get convoluted and confuse ourselves, but you know what I mean, guys. It's just and you realise that the evil option won't save her family. Yeah, but evil has many variables as well. You can just be slightly going into that evil bracket where you're a bit of a scoundrel, a bit of a bad girl or bad boy, or you know, you can, but you're not outright vile. You're not out like a complete and utter monster. You'd have to be like really far on the scale to be that. From ancient Greece, they were good. Yeah, I have to head out. Take care, Sympathy. How you doing? I mean, what do you mean? How you doing? I mean, you take. My mind has gone weird. Yeah, take care, Sympathy. I hope you have a good weekend. What did I say? How you doing? At that point, you'll have to figure out the inventory for the person playing. Maybe a question pop up at the time for the evil one. Find a new inventory. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I do like the shock value of the player actually realising Carol's gone, because by that point in the game, we're talking mid game, end game here, like the point whenever a goal has been achieved and we're moving on to the latter part of the adventure, people would have already got attached to her by that point. So it's going to be it would be pretty shocking to lose her and to literally see her just walk away, well, hop away should I say, and be like, sod you, and just go. And then you're like, is she gone? Is she really gone? And then it pops up saying, objective, find a new inventory. that is brilliant. Really shows the game and that, you know, the stakes, doesn't it? We don't muck about in Raindrop Chronicles. We mean it when we say that the endings are savage, or some of the things that can happen. Axel could take over an inventory, and the fact that Axel would side with an evil hero is validation for Elvira hating him. Yeah, I mean, when the time comes, it's still very early days. I'm sure we will see who the options are. But yeah, it's going to be fun. Somebody like Axel or even Woody would be brilliant contenders for being an evil hero's inventory, because I feel out of anybody, out of the containers in the game, they're the most likely to be influenced or peer pressured by an evil hero. Axel and Woody aren't exactly goody two-shoes people, so I could easily see them being manipulated by an evil hero. And willing to be on the evil hero's side. But Carol's just far too principled to be with an evil hero. And Elvira, Meryl, and Oliver and Hank would not be with an evil hero either. Hank couldn't do much because he's broke, and Oliver couldn't really be an inventory either. But I do think, you know, Axel, Woody, contenders for sure. It's even stronger if it's an object we know. If we find a new inventory that's a character that we've got to know in the game or seen in flashbacks, then it just makes it more fun as well that we meet them and have them be the inventory. And would be super. I think that would just be an absolute shocker to see Carol go and literally get that come up saying find a new inventory in your quest journal as an objective. You know, you'd just be like, wow, they're serious, aren't they? She's not coming back. And I think that's a good, it's really what I want to do, you know, when it comes to creating a game, like show people that we're not holding your hand here, and we're not like mollycoddling you to get what you want in the game. You got to be prepared to get your heart broken and for the serious stuff to happen. Because it's kind of a kick in the face, the culmination of the hero here. Yeah, and it's like, if you are a player that was evil just because you thought it was funny, it's people like you that are going to realise the damage you've done, because you'll be like, oh crap, Carol's gone, what have I done? And your regret will sink in, and you'll think, how can I fix this? And that's what we want to do. We want to make you feel, as the player, all sorts of emotions here: regrets, joy, sadness, wholesomeness, happiness, laughter. You know, I want to make you feel it all. And the fact that we typically assume we get an inventory in video games, but then you actually could lose it in this case, would be fun. Yeah, and it's only if you're an evil hero that you experience this. Like if you was a good hero, you wouldn't even necessarily know that this could happen. And that's something I want to like make sure of as well, that there's because people that say have played the game as the good guy, gone through the good route, then they watch their friend play it, or watch a YouTube let's play or stream, and then see that someone played evil and Carol's not in the inventory anymore. They'll be like, oh my god, the game was completely different for you to how it was for me. And that sort of thing is what I think gives it the replayability value, and especially the value to watch other people play the game as well. And I think in the age that we're living in with RPG video games, with, you know, streaming, games being streamable and things like that, people are more interested in watching games that have those variables. They can see how it happened differently for other people to them. That's what makes it fun to watch. So yeah, either way, I think evil person needs to have a quest for the new inventory, and not just instant replacement of one of the barrels. Yeah, and because that, you know, even if we get set on who's it's going to be, you know, we're still going to make that a bit of a journey for them to find that person, or go up to them and ask. You know, it'll be interesting. And if we had the option of taking away or changing inventory, we could have a quest where even a good hero could lose Carol through whatever circumstances, and then the quest would be rescued. Yes, Ava, funny enough that you said that, because we've sort of wrote that here as well. And it has been briefly discussed in the past as well. But we've got here, I don't know if you can say, but Carol gets kidnapped. Imagine, because in that, it's a similar way. That would happen in, you know, you play through where you're a good hero or a bad hero. Even this might even happen earlier game, slightly before Carol achieves a goal. In fact, it would make sense if that was a plot point that happens before Carol achieves a goal. And you as the hero, like, you have to find your inventory then. So that's like a similar way of doing that, but another way of doing it. But both are as exciting as each other, because not only does that play into Carol's fear, like that's Carol's fear to be caught by flashbacks or in a vulnerable position and feels like her life's in danger. Not only is that making Carol scared, that would make us scared as well, because we've lost our inventory. So that's a double whammy. Maybe Elvira would go with an evil hero if they offer to make her queen of the container kingdom. Yeah, Elvira's an interesting character because she's so xenophobic that she'd be so easy to dislike. But I'd love to bring some really likeable qualities to Elvira, because I want all the Barrel clan to be lovable, flawed but lovable, you know. Like Woody, I want him to be lovable even though he's a creep. I want him to still have that likability factor and be interesting to people. And side note, what you have for the evil hero, how it makes Carol face her fear, that's a flat arc. because in that instant Carol's belief is proven right, and that's why I was saying a few days ago that flat arcs are bad. Their uses, which is perfect use flat arc in interactive media, yeah. And yeah, that's true. And I want to read more about flat arcs because I was interested, and I'm aware that some arcs will go in that direction because they just would make more sense going that way. We can't make ourselves believe that everybody can have this kind of arc that's a transformation arc, you know. It's going to be different for certain characters, but I'd like to read more because it's been mentioned a few times and I have an idea what a flat arc is, but I definitely want to read more. And I could see the title of the Let's Play chapter now. I might just lost my inventory. What do I do? Yeah, it'll be a shock, yeah. Flawed and lovable like me. Hi Zephyrus, how you doing? We're all flawed and lovable. But yes, I mean, it's interesting because we've mentioned a few characters: Woody, Axel, Elvira. Whoever ends up the new inventory for the evil hero, it's going to be someone who is gaining something from being with that evil hero, or is easily manipulated or easily led. And I think a few of them could definitely fall into that category. But naturally, it's going to be whoever it just fits best with the plot when the time comes. But it's nice to think about, that's for sure. Alright, so I'm glad we talked about that and got that down with Carol. How fun. Isn't that exciting, guys? What a cool quest. Okay, so we've talked about everyone. It's just the fruits now. And I think this is the perfect one to finish the stream with chatting about, because next week we're going to finish this scene with the fruits. So, and I'm going to mention that in a sec, what we're going to do next week. We were going to do it today, but we didn't get time because we ended up talking for ages about the other characters. But we're definitely doing it on Monday. But yes, in their past, the fruits, during a seasonal festival in Lakefall, which was the same seasonal festival where Carol lost her parents, by the way. I put 2 months on the timeline for a reason. A couple of reasons there, but it works. So Blueberry's mother got baked into a pie and Tomato's brother got turned into juice. So it has to be 2 months because Blueberry needed to have been alive to give birth to Blueberry, basically, and Blueberry's quite young. He's probably the same generation as Oliver, which were the fruits that were born, sentient objects that were born 3 months ago. So that means that 2 months feels like a good timeline, and it works for Carol well as well because it would have made her considerably younger, but not a baby. She's still sort of grown up enough to understand things, and they believe they are abused and mistreated by society, which yes, because that's what happened. Their kind got eaten up, so yeah, that's why they think that. And they desire to bring an end to their mistreatment by conquering Lakefall and settling there as a strong, independent nation. So this is all colour-coded with these behaviours, by the way. That's what that all is. And the orange one is ambitious. The red one is angry disposition. And then we will not succeed because we aren't very strong. We're soft and squidgy. Humans would turn us into Jews if they saw us. So they know this deep down. They're not blind to their weaknesses. Similar to Carol, kind of parallels in a way. They're both living objects that realise they're not the strongest, but they'll never admit that to anybody. This is why they want you to, that's why they go through that whole plan of needing the vampire blood, because they know that they can't just walk into Lakefall as they are and conquer, because that would just be laughable. They'd just get squished in a second. They need to be strong to do that, which is what takes them to this whole plan idea. So they want you to assist them with their plan of giving them the final ingredient they need. the vampire's blood to conquer Lightfall. With this final ingredient, there is no way those humans will defeat us. They're pretty confident that that'll give them the strength they need to get what they want. So we couldn't think of any like outcomes for the fruits, and the reason being is because they're an antagonist and they're going to remain evil even in the outcome that you let them live, because it's going to end with them conquering Lakefall if they get another vampire's blood, which we talked about several streams back. There is the option, there's 3 ending outcomes. 1, the humans populate Lightfall. 2, the reptiles populate Lightfall, and 3, the fruits populate Lightfall. But you can only get that 3rd ending if you kept the fruits alive and if they get another vampire's blood to sacrifice. Obviously they can't have violets because you don't let them have violets, but there is going to be a potential interaction, an event where you meet a vampire in a cave, where the reptiles live, that you can release. And if you do release that vampire out into the wild, the open, then the fruits are going to find that vampire and have that vampire's blood. And it's like, yeah, if you thought a bit ahead as a player, you'd have had the wisdom to not let that vampire out, because you know you've kept those fruits alive and that they'll potentially get what they want. Because they are totally being serious when they say they want to conquer Lightfall. They're not just saying it for the fun of it, they're ambitious. But yes, basically that's filled in, because it's nice just getting that all down and realising what their desires, fears and wishes and all that are, even if there isn't a transformation character arc with them. Because really the opposite of the lie, the belief, the moral lesson would be, if we're friends with society, then they won't abuse us anymore. It's something to that degree. However nice and heartwarming it would be for the fruits to be friends with the humans or whoever's living out. That's Carol's arc. That's Carol and the Barrel's plot to find love and belonging with other people, not just their own. And we don't want the fruits to steal that limelight from Carol's arc, because that's very powerful, and that's like, she's such a main character. So the fruits are like the other route that it goes down if you're kind of a bad sentient object that's not willing to make friends with other communities, right? And you're just so like obsessed with the idea of being an independent nation and have revenge and all that. So the fruits are really going the opposite of what Carol will eventually be and realise. But it's going to be somewhat amusing. I mean, it's a bit evil that the fruits are going to conquer Lightfall, because yeah, they will murder people, of course. They will murder the people who are living in Lightfall if they live there, because they don't want any one of them themselves living there. But it's going to be amusing, because imagine these guys working in the shops. Like, I totally imagine Lemon as the blacksmith, and I imagine Plum as the innkeeper. He'd be there instead of Nigel. I mean, look at him, he's totally an innkeeper with that monocle, and he's wise, he's a wizard. Plum would be Lemon's the blacksmith, because he's got that veteran, hardened look about him. Typical blacksmith guy. And who knows what will happen to Apple, Tomato and Blueberry. Maybe Blueberry would work in the item shop, or can't imagine the others. Maybe Apple dies. Maybe Blueberry dies, or maybe Tomato dies. So I think we said that one of them will have to perish, because the player will want some sort of... they'll be upset otherwise, though. So we need to reward them and be like, well, at least one of the fruits have perished. So maybe that will happen in the Conquering Lightfall, we'll say. But I just think it's so wacky and funny to imagine them just being there working in the shops, and they could raise their prices because they don't like you because you're a human. But you did save them, you did spare them from getting killed, so they might realise that and you might get around them a bit, but they're still a bit bad and mean. So and the fruit, see, that could be what happens. There needs to be some payoff for the end, for those that get the ending of the fruits conquering. I feel like the amusing sequence of them working in the shops is one payoff, like if we make it super entertaining and the dialogue funny and amusing. But having certain items sold that wouldn't have been sold if it was the reptiles and humans, you know, is interesting too. See, if the reptiles populate Lakefall, it could be similar. So they'd sell certain items that the humans wouldn't sell either. So all these variables are interesting and kind of make up those secrets, those differences, make it somewhat worthwhile. And although the plot of Lakefall will be over once we've dealt with who populates the village at the end of episode 1, you'll still be able to fast travel in future episodes to see what the villagers are up to. And there could be a bit of goings on there in future episodes, like because we all like to see what they're up to, whether it's the fruits, the reptiles or the humans. If you don't let the vampire out, do the reptiles beat up the fruit? Well, if you don't let the vampire out, the fruit won't be able to do anything because they'll be alive, but they will not be able to achieve their dreams because they've got no vampire blood. So something else could go down for sure. Whether they're just wandering the lands, literally powerless, living their lives doing nothing because they don't have the vampire blood, or something else happens to them. I mean, that's an interesting one. The reptiles beat up the fruit. I mean, I'd say the fruits dislike the reptiles just as much as they dislike the humans, because they don't, you know, they'd struggle to like anyone that's not like them. It's all about being narrow-minded and being too comfortable in your own communities and not trustworthy of others. But they're not embracing the fact that they could live. I mean, could they live together? It's a bit wild. I don't see the humans of Lakefall willing to cohabitate with a bunch of fruits. They'd probably laugh and eat them up, maybe. But it's funny. And do the fruits go wandering the world to find another vampire? Yeah, there's a ton of variables and I'd like to think about them. If you guys have any ideas of other options, because of course that's true, there is the outcome of, well, what if they don't let the vampire out? What happens to the fruits then if they're alive still but they can't conquer Lakefall? So that option is definitely worth thinking about. There's definitely a chance you could run into them in the future, I'd say, because the fact is, if you've spared them, they're still around. You know, they might have not been able to conquer Lakefall, but they are still alive and they're somewhere. And the fruit should sell better equipment, to be honest. And who knows, maybe they are looking for another vampire. Could come back in a vampire story somewhere. If we ever have like a quest involving a vampire, or they could make an appearance then if they never achieved their Lakefall goal. I like the idea of them being a part of future quest lines if they survive, but I'll bring that up when we get to side quests. Yeah, and it could even be a side quest. They might not necessarily be part of the main quest line. It's pretty hard for them to be fully part of the main quest line because there's all these variables about them being dead and all that, but you never know. Well, to close the arc off, they don't succeed in their goal during the event of the game. Their goal with Lakefall, yeah. So it's not their worst outcome because they've still survived. They may have not succeeded in their goal by the end of episode 1, but that's not to say they won't in a future episode, right? But I feel like if they make an appearance in a future episode, you know, something could go down and it could lead to a little scene or side quest with them in some way or another, even if it's nothing to do with the episode 1 or Lakefall segment of the game. It's just a completely other part of the world, for example. But before we conclude today. One thing I'm going to mention, I'm just going to let you know what we're going to start off with next week. We're gonna start writing the scene. We've already outlined it, so I'm going to get it up now actually. Can I get it up here? Yeah, this one. We outlined this a few streams back. Here it is, main quest 2, scene 5, the pain. So this is what we're going to jump into next week. So I think we've got this character art list at a good stage now. And I think we've had a lot of good character discussion. And we're going to always keep this tabbed open while we work on dialogue though, so we can remind ourselves of these things so that we stay consistent with the characters. But we will be like looking into getting this dialogue all done and dusted so I can get them put in the scenes, and we'll be one step closer to getting the first playable build ready. But there's another big job of dealing with all the battles after we've done the scenes, but we're not thinking about that yet. We'll think about that once the dialogue and scenes are done. You could have them show up with other vampire that you can recruit in the game. They might show up again and try to steal your recruit. Then they say the hero and go, never mind. Yeah, I was thinking of Daniel, funnily enough, because Daniel is a vampire too, but that would be wild because Daniel's pretty high level vampire, isn't he? He's definitely not feral like animalistic like Violet is, so he would definitely kill him. He's got a rapier. He's a duelist. He'd probably get his rapier out and be like, stab him, and then they'd be dead. There'd be fruit juice going down his rapier. Yeah, that would be a tragic ending for the fruits, you know. But I could see it happening, or at least one of the fruits perishing that way. Considering he has a rapier, it's just too good to resist. Then they, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do on Monday the first half of this scene, and maybe Wednesday the second half of the scene. So the first half of the scene will involve post-battle. The battle would have ended, the fruits look vulnerable, and this is when you get the choice to spare or kill them. So that's going to be the first thing that happens basically in this scene. We know that the second part of the scene is Rose doing the painting of the reptile and having, the decision of if Rose is going to hide in Carol and what we're going to do with Rose so the full villagers can't see her. That's all the second half of the scene. But the first half of the scene is the outcome of the fruits and that kill or spare choice. And I figured to, have that impact, have that, oh my God, what should I do sort of feeling. Should I, almost you feel bad for killing them. I was feeling like they should say a few last dying words, each of them. Some might plead for their life, some of them might get a bit angry at you, but the opportunity for the fruits to have some last dying words is kind of irresistible. I don't know if I just want it to pop up saying, what you're going to do, kill or spare them, with them just standing there in silence after the battle. I kind of like the idea of them having some last dying words. And at the moment we just have Plum there saying, oh no, please don't, it's Blueberry's birthday, please no. But I want to push it a bit further. And I want to think of some last dying words that each of the fruits might say. And we have a 20-30 second bit of conversation with them saying what they're thinking, and then we get the choice. Because it just makes, if they've had a chance to speak and say what they need to before they go, with how ambitious and determined they are, it'd be a bit out of character if they were just standing there in silence. They would definitely have something to say. So that's what we're going to do on Monday. We're going to make a list of some really interesting last dying words, and I've got a few in mind actually for each of the fruits. I've got a list myself, but I want to see what you guys suggest as well, and we might do a poll. If we have too many and we can't make our mind up and we can't fit it all in a single scene, then we might need to decide which ones we're going to go for, and we'll just write it out and we'll make it as awesome as possible, so that people literally do feel conflicted in which one to pick. Blueberry deserves it. I've had people in stream, I've had a few of you be like, oh gosh, I'd kill those fruits, like use X, you've got no mercy for them at all. But then I've had people come in and say, oh, they definitely leave the fruits alive, because they always like to do that in games, like let people live. So it's going to be interesting to sort of manipulate people's emotions with these last dying words. But we don't want to be too over melodramatic about it either. We want to kind of make it in character and be smart about it. So we'll have a good think on Monday. Just letting you know, that's what we're going to be doing. Just see if anyone's got anyone can come up with some ideas over the weekend potentially. But I've got a list as well, so don't worry, we're not completely blank. And we'll do that first, and then once we've done that, we'll look through our other bullet points here and notes we've made, and we'll actually form this dialogue and this scene, because this is the final scene of main quest 2, and therefore the final main quest of our first playable build and scene. So it's got to be super strong. It's got to have that real impact and oomph. So, and after we've done that, we might reword a few of our previous scenes. In fact, we have to, because after doing this, Fiona, Violet, Nigel will need to have a bit of a change in dialogue slightly in their scenes where we meet them. The cabin scene with Fiona and Violet definitely needs a slight change, and we might add a few little touches to Nigel's dialogue too, just to make this internal conflict a bit evident, even in a subtle way. So that's going to be next week's goals, getting that last scene done and just additionally improving the old scenes. And I think the week after that we'll be ready to jump into getting them into scenes. We'll have our RPG Maker open and we'll start putting the dialogue in and actually doing the scenes. And as we've already sort of done the scenes anyway, it's not too much work, but considering we'll have expanded on them considerably, that there's still a bit of work involved in smoothing them out. I actually like the fruit, I just don't like that manipulative blueberry, the true villain of the series, lol. Yeah, it's going to be funny. We'll think of what they can say, their last dying words, on Monday, everybody. But thanks for hanging out. I'm going to head right off because it is 6:15 and I am really pushing it lately and ending really late instead of 6 o'clock. It's because I'm starting late. But I am going to start closer to 2:30. I'm going to try and start as close to 2:30 as possible, if I can, from now on. And then we can end on at 6 and we can raid people and we can do trivia at the end as well again, so that we'll have time. Thanks for the stream. Take care and stay thirsty. Hope you all have a good rest of the weekend, and hopefully I'm alright and I haven't got COVID on Monday either. Take care everybody. I hope you have a good day and weekend. Thanks for hanging out and for all the awesome chats about the characters. It's been tons of fun. I think they're really getting good. Take care everybody.